Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do you.
Well, TGIF to all of my beautiful coffee beans. I'm Bullhorn Betty. We're breaking the case down of Nancy Guthrie, and you're going to want to come in for this shocking information that we have about her case.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it.
Well, good morning, my beautiful coffee beans. Come on in. We've got a lot to discuss, not just here for Nancy Guthrie, but just a little bit of insight on some other things, too. Come on in, sit on down, grab yourself a beverage.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up when they gon' rise in the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Bullhorn Betty, and we cover the case of Nancy Guthrie. Will we ever know what happened to Nancy Guthrie? That is the question that's hanging over this case this morning.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you. God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims.
An 84-year-old grandmother, a woman of faith, a mother of one of the most recognizable journalists in America, vanishes from her own bed in an upscale Arizona neighborhood. And a month later, with hundreds of investigators, DNA, video, detainments, and a cleared family, we are no closer to the truth than we were on day one. An empty house, a trail of blood by the front door, a missing doorbell camera, and a family that went from suspected to officially cleared in just over 2 weeks. This is the story of Nancy Guthrie, and this morning we're asking a hard question. Will we ever know what happened to her? Because if law enforcement, the FBI, 400 investigators working around the clock, surveillance video, detainments, DNA, and a 7-figure reward can't crack this, what does this say about justice for Nancy or her family? Let's go back to the beginning. Late on the night of January 31st, Nancy is dropped off at her home in the Catalina foothills after a family dinner. Her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, is the last person to see her alive, watching her walk into her home. The next morning, she doesn't show up to church. This is not a woman who just forgets Sunday service. Friends noticed. They called the family. The family goes by the house. What they find changes everything. Nancy is gone, but her car, wallet, phone, and medication still inside the home. The question is, what other evidence was inside the home? Outside, near the entry, there is blood, later confirmed to be hers, and the doorbell camera that should have been recording the last moments at her front door has been removed. In a matter of hours, her home goes from a sanctuary to a crime scene. From almost the very beginning, homicide investigators are called in, a rare move when you don't have a body. Even if the words homicide isn't in the press release, it's already in the room. In any disappearance, investigators start with the last person to see the victim alive. In Nancy's case, that's her son-in-law, Tommaso. He dropped her off at the house. He's on camera with her. He knows her routine. Rumors ignite online almost immediately. Is the son-in-law the prime suspect? Social media and comment sections treat him like a de facto person of interest long before any officials say it out loud. For days, the family in that awful gray zone, technically not ruled out. Every move they make is picked apart. Why did they say this? Why did they say that? Why is he so quiet? Why isn't he in the video? Why is she emotional here and composed there? Then comes the turning point. On February 16th, the staff finally draws a line. He issues a statement saying in plain language that the entire Guthrie family, including all siblings and their spouses, have been cleared as possible suspects. To be clear, he said, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouse, have been cleared as possible suspects in the case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious in our victims in this case. That includes Tommaso Cioni, specifically named in some coverage as having been ruled out despite the earlier conjecture about his involvement. So the internet had its suspect, and the sheriff just took him away. If this wasn't a family job, if Tommaso and everyone else are victims, not villains, then who walked up to that door, removed that camera, and took Nancy out of her bed that night? As the search ramps up, investigators recover video, a masked person, armed, in a jacket, moving near Nancy's home. Still images go out nationwide. This is the moment everyone thinks, we've got him. Within hours, a man in Rio Rico, later identified in media interview as Carlos, is detained during a stop. He says agents showed his in-laws picture of a masked figure and said the eyes look like his. He is questioned, his property is searched, and then he's released. No charges, no public accusation. Law enforcement won't even confirm his name. An analysis tell local outlet what they really mean. Either they don't think he's the guy, or they have nothing that will hold up in court. He's not the only one. Multiple persons of interest have been detained, questioned, or searched, and then have walked away free. A veteran FBI agent describes it bluntly. 400 investigators, 24/7 operation, DNA recovered at the scene, weeks of leads, and still no suspect. CODIS comes back with no match. No vehicle is definitively tied to the abduction. The trail that looked hot goes ice cold. A reporter standing outside the quiet house calls the atmosphere haunting. Media trucks, nervous neighbors, an ever-present sense of something terrible, and yet an unsettling stillness as meaningful updates dry up. This is the part of the movie where the big break is supposed to come, the dramatic arrest, the perp walk, but this isn't a movie. The detainments led nowhere. The DNA matches no one, and Nancy is still gone. Behind the scenes, operations are shifting from hundreds of agents to a smaller, long-term task force. The helicopters go away, the search grid shrinks, the national push alert slows down. Forensic experts warn that the key evidence might not be the obvious blood or fingerprint, but a hair, a fiber, an overlooked trace that has to be cobbled together with everything else to move the case forward. That is slow, painstaking work, and there's no guarantee it will ever be enough. Commentators who have been there on the ground are starting to say the unthinkable out loud. This may become one of those cases that never gets solved, despite everything poured into it. This morning, Nancy Guthrie's family has been cleared. The earlier person of interest is living his life again. The man detained after the mass suspect image was sent home. The DNA found at the scene belongs to someone who doesn't show up in any database we know about. And an 84-year-old grandmother is still missing from a house that should have been the safest place in her world. So I'm going to ask the question that nobody in authority wants to put on record. Will we ever know what happened to Nancy Guthrie? Is this a case that ends with an arrest, a trial, and answers? Or is this going to be another file in a cabinet, unsolved, unexplained, and forgettable only to the people who loved her? Over the next 2 hours, we're going to walk through every twist and turn you haven't been told, every theory experts are quietly talking about, and the decisions by investigators, by the media, and by all of us online that will decide whether Nancy's story ends with justice or with silence, like the Sebastian Rogers case. Well, good morning, my beauties. I know everybody's wondering. We had a 10-minute intro. That is my very thorough breakdown of the intro. It's crazy because we recorded that like a week or two ago, and the information hasn't changed. That's the most shocking of all of this, is that I can record an intro. Usually, like with Sebastian Rogers' case, there for a while, I was changing out intros like I was, showering. Okay, they were regular because so much information was changing on a moment's notice. This case right here, it's not. It's not. Every time we feel like we're getting ahead, we're getting somewhere, we're where we need to be, something happens, we're thrown back to square one, and we're scratching our heads again. First was the family. We always look at who was the last person to see somebody alive, right? And with this particular case, Grandma was over at one of the daughter's house for the evening, and her husband, the son-in-law, took her home. And so he, theoretically, at that moment, was the last person to see her alive. Did he attack her going in? Did they have fights? We never know what goes on behind closed door. One thing that the true crime community is definitely good at is not believing anything, right? We believe zero. you have to bring, we've been doing this a long time. We want receipts. So if you didn't do nothing wrong, you should be able to prove you didn't do nothing wrong. We're not going to sit here and try to prove you did something wrong. You need to prove to us you did nothing wrong, okay? It's a little opposite over here on the true crime community. We trust no one, okay? We trust no one. We don't trust children. We don't trust parents. We don't trust law enforcement. We trust no one. Right? You earn your trust with us. You earn your trust. And it truly is just like that. We're skeptical of everything. And we're skeptical of everything because our experience has taught us over the years to be skeptical of everything. Guys, we're at day 41 or 42. Are we at day 40? I think we just did day 40 yesterday. We're at day 41 in this case. The Nancy Guthrie case. A grandmother ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night, bludgeoned, beaten. Definitely some blood is around the house. So what happened to this lady? This is some scary stuff. But don't worry, we have a lot of shocking information today on today's show. But some of it started last night. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take a detour after this little snippet because I got to say good morning to you guys anyways. So come on in, guys. We do have some shocking information we're going to go over. Last night, you guys really weren't, there wasn't a whole lot of people in our show. Don't forget, we're doing evening shows now. So if you weren't an evening watcher, become an evening watcher. We have a show. We have a show in the evening. We're discussing, and last night's show was very important. We learned about a new case, Nancy Woodrum. Now, Nancy Woodrum is dead. She's been dead for years. I think she was murdered back in 2018. But the eerily similar makeup of these cases, it really opened our eyes to new avenues of investigation last night. Completely new avenues of investigation. And it really does talk about why we're even having this, like, we heard that one of those gloves came back to a cook or restaurant worker. As Mike was saying in the chat as we were coming in, yeah, they're interviewing people at that Mexican restaurant that they went and sat and filmed in. So it looks like to me that it appears somebody targeted this woman. Was it a group of people or was it a single lone actor? That's going to be what we need to look at. Now we're looking at stranger danger. Excuse me. Now we're looking at a stranger danger situation in the Nancy Guthrie case. Maybe somebody she didn't know at all. And also one of the things that we discussed last night was the fact that the painter, as you guys know, her roof was bright white, as if it was just freshly painted. And if she just had her roof freshly painted, what other things did she have done around her house we don't know about? Were sprinklers put in? Did she change new pool companies? There's so many things. Does she have an annual pressure washer? Right? The things that we don't think about, that we should think about, And so I really do. I watched your video last night about the roof. Oh, good. I'm glad you did. So anyways, taking a back step, we're going to say good morning to all of you crazy folks that are up ridiculously early this morning to learn a little bit of shocking new information about the Nancy Guthrie case. I want to tell you there is something about salads that are plaguing me, okay? And I'm not joking. I want to give a big shout out to the Real Me Too. She probably has already left her house or is going to be leaving her house very, very soon. She has surgery today, so we want to tell our dedicated mod, the Real Me Too, good luck. We know you'll do just fine. If you don't see her, or if you do see her and you don't understand what she's typing, please understand she just had hand surgery and it's on her right hand. So, I think we're gonna have some blissful sight. I'm just joking. We're gonna feel a hole. We're gonna be missing you until you can type again. Okay, until you can type again. We'll check on you. I promise we'll check on you. But you'll do great. We know you'll do great. So that's what's going on with that. But listen to this. So I was talking to her last night because I realized she was about to have, she's going to be having surgery today, and I wanted to call her. She's my mom. She's been dedicated to me and she travels all over the country with me. So, I get a little worried because sometimes I don't realize that, I'm just not that involved. I'm so busy. I don't get that involved, and it really sucks because I used to be such a socializing person, always, stayed on the phone all day, every day. But now that I research all day, every day, it's hard. When I am on the phone, it's about research, right? Not to talk to people. And it's such a shame. So hopefully time will start loosening up and we'll start getting something that works a little bit better, after all these court stuff, where we can be a little more socializing. But she sent me $12 last night. I'm like, I write her back up, what the hell are you sending me money for? And she starts laughing and she says, I was sending it to my daughter for a salad she didn't want. I don't know what it is. I think I'm cursed with salads. I think there is a sign that's slapping me in the face. You guys know I gained a lot of weight over the holiday. I quit vaping, which I didn't realize whenever I'm stressed out. What do? You smoke or vape. So now what do you do when you stress out? You stuff your face. Okay, so I'm really trying to learn this new lifestyle that I've got to learn about. I've got to deal with stress just to I have to find another outlet. Food ain't the outlet, okay? I'm just saying it's not the outlet, folks. But I find myself getting very comfortable with sweets, okay? And you guys know me and sugar. I have divorced sugar a few years ago. I chose that the chicken salad. I'm not lying to you. I looked at her. I said, what is it with salads? What is it with me and salads? She's like, I never thought about it that way. So I earned $12, the $10. Oh, and then I went out and got the receipt. So in all fairness, the Grave Crime with Grace. I didn't even pay for your postage now. The real Me Too did, because she sent me $12 to pay for a salad. A salad I didn't steal this time, okay? I just want to put that out there. I didn't steal a salad. I didn't steal a salad. And I got some information. It wasn't as expensive as I thought it was. It looks like I spent $209 for the envelope and $7.95 for the shipping. But for 2 pens, $7.90. That's like $4 a pen in a little tiny envelope, a padded envelope. $8, and they said that was the cheapest. So the total was like $10, $10.04. So I guess at $12, it was still high. $10, I still think it's high to send 2 pens through the postage. No, does anybody think that? I just think that's high. So I will be getting with Sonia and figuring out how she finagles such better rates than I do. But I think it's because she mails a bunch of stuff and I don't mail a bunch of stuff. I mail like one thing every year. But it looks like I'm going to have to get an account because guess what? Guess what Sheen did? Sheen sent me 2 exact shirts. And to be honest with you, this right here is an extra large shirt. And it fits like a medium. So this needs to go to another medium. Gina H. Gina. I gave her the dress. I seen her out there and I looked at her body and I'm like, oh, this will look so cute on her, right? Not that I'm checking out women's bodies. I don't want to be passing around, craziness here. But, girls can kind of do that. We can look at other girls and say, oh, this is going to look really cute on you. So I gave her the dress. And now I have this. And listen to this. So yesterday I went out to the mailbox and I get in there and I have a package. And I'm like, what is this? And I open it up and it's a second pink jacket. This pink jacket is so freaking nice. I absolutely love mine. But they accidentally sent me an extra. So now I've got an extra shirt. Now, mind you, I've already got my shirt. So I have one just like this. This was in the package. It looks like they went to grab one and they grabbed 2. Because this was laying right on the other one. So I've never used this one. I have my own. And then I have 2 pink jackets now. And these pink jackets are beautifully stitched, lined. I'm almost tempted to send it to Sonia so she can put a Bullhorn Betty emblem on it and send it back to me so I have a branded pink jacket. That would be awesome. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, okay? I might give it away. I might send it to Sonia to spiffy up and send it to somebody that's lucky, that's really, really lucky. So I don't know. But on a side note, before we get started in this case, we've got to talk about something a little more personal. If you guys wouldn't mind for me to bend your ear just for a few moments. This is super important to me. If you guys notice, I'm not going to be asking for goals the rest of this weekend or all next week. I'm not going to be asking for any type of financial support for this channel or anything like that. You know, we always need financial support for this channel. This is my primary income, but I really want, you know, when I started covering the Sebastian Rogers case, it was a hot mess express. There was a lot of infighting already going on in that case. And I met the E's through the Sebastian Rogers case. They were just a delight. They were very, very kind. They have supported me. They have supported everything that I have gone through there. What many of you guys don't know, when I was going through the worst part of the legal stuff, they gave me $1,000. They did it anonymously. They didn't want anybody to know that they were participating or helped out in any way. I am breaking that confidentiality today because I wish I had the $1,000 to give them, but I don't. It was never contingent upon, just to let you know, it was for me, for my legal expenses. And this was before they knew that their son, it was like right before they found out the diagnosis of their son. And since then, they have kept, positivity. They've really, really fought for everything that they've gone through with their middle son, middle E, Cole Harris. Cole Harris is his name. And I can't imagine how expensive this is. One of their friends started a give and fund. I don't know what it's called, but it's not a GoFundMe. It's similar to a GoFundMe, and I know that the E's never ever ask for help, and they are not asking for help. It looks like people are realizing that they need help and have stepped up to the plate to try to help. So if my mods could go and put their Cash App in our chat and just regularly pop that into our chat, I would greatly appreciate it. Anybody that wants to help them, there's also a GoFundMe type of mechanism there. But anything give and send. Thank you. That's it, Sarah. Thank you so much. They've never asked for a thing from us except prayers. And again, they were here with me through some of the worst times that I've ever experienced being a content creator or a journalist covering true crime cases. I've been in a lot of swampy situations. I used to be, and still am, a political activist, and I never thought anything could be worse than politics until I came to the true crime genre. Now, granted, it has settled down a lot. I thank God it has settled down. But it was really, really, really bad. And it came to a head when I got arrested. And after that, I'm not taking any prisoners at this point. If anybody comes and monkeys with me, we're going to be in court with a quickness. I just not even going to mess around with people anymore. But it was really, really, really bad, and I think it was part the result of what I went through. But what I'm trying to say is that the E's have been there, and they treaded all that water with this channel and supported us when we needed it the most. And so for the first time, I'm asking for you all to please join me in supporting the E family because they need it. Their son needs it. This is not a situation where, this is a bill that's not due. This is their son that is losing his battle with cancer, and they need resources. And I think they've never even asked us, but there's obviously friends that are close to this family that are stepping up to the plate and saying they can't burden this burden alone. And so we are supporting their friends doing this. We're going to support advocating for people to, if anybody has the Go Give and Go link, can somebody put it? I know we have it. Can somebody throw that in the chat too? Anyway, anything that you can help. I think there's a meal train. I do think we have a lot of different things here, folks. Thank you, Nikki, that we can really assist with. But Again, they never ask for anything. They are an amazing family. They do amazing things for everybody. They're always willing to help anybody. And this is something that, you know, it's got to be very, very difficult. I do have, B Betty, I think there's the give link as well. If somebody wants to go and give to the give ins go or whatever it's called, the meal train. Here's the meal train. Okay, they're starting to get B Betty's posting them in the chat here. So if you guys would like to help in any way, please consider helping. Again, I don't ever promote anybody, help anybody unless they truly need help. We make sure that what we're doing is not spam or not fake or anything like that. Whenever we put these things up, these have already been researched. These are not any other individual. This is going directly to them. So anybody that wants to help, again, their son is 17 years old and he's losing his battle with brain cancer. I don't want to know how hard this has to be on that entire family. I'm sure if you guys have gone through it, you probably know what they're going through. Sorry, it's a little emotional for me because they're just an amazing family, and it's devastating. Oh gosh, I need to stop. It's devastating to think that they are struggling so much and keeping such a positive. I mean, there's so many of us that would be broken down right now, and they're keeping faith. They're keeping. They're just a beautiful family. So if you would like to help, please consider helping out the E family. I'm going to be donating as soon as I get something coming in. We should be, I'll have something coming in the next few days from TikTok. Once I get some buffering here, I will be sending something as well. But if you guys would like help, again, don't worry about me. We will always survive. We don't have to worry about what they're going through. So if you guys were planning on doing anything for this channel, please consider taking whatever you were going to do for this channel this week and give it to them. They need it more than any of us really do at this point. So God bless you. Thank you for that. And I just wanted to make sure that we're supporting people that supported. And I just want you guys to know they supported me in my darkest hour. This family did. And I really want to return that favor, especially for this. So anyways, guys, do your thing. Anyways, I've got to clean myself up just real quick. So let's start moving on with this this case here. On a funny note, I think we found a culprit. The culprit, remember, we all thought, did the assailant go back to the scene of the crime? That was the reason. Why was it the reason? It was because we saw, the memorial disturbed. I think we have the APB out on the right culprit now. Okay. It is Mr. or Mrs. Javelina here. If we can put an APB out, we are looking for this little gremlin right here that likes to destroy memorials. I think we found our culprit. It might be a little bit of a cute culprit this morning, but this happened a few days ago. I was meaning to bring it up to you guys to show you the culprit of what appears to be the destructor of the memorial very innocently. I don't think it was as suspect as we originally thought by any imagination. We forget that there is a lot of wildlife out there in Arizona. So I do believe we do have our culprit for the memorial destroyer. Okay, it is a javelina. And probably multiple javelinas, because I have to think if this one was a little hungry and it's like, ooh, oh, this smells a little interesting. I wonder what this yellow flower smells. Ooh, oh, I like roses. I have a funny feeling javelina has expensive taste too. I'm just saying. I just thought you guys could get a little kick out of it before we dump into the gunky gunk. Okay, look at that cute little thing. I can't believe it. Look at that little thing. I want a javelina now. I don't know about you, but I want a javelina. So I've got to say, this is insane because, as you guys know, we've been covering this case. Many of us have watched this case kind of get crazy, right? We have some infighting here between law enforcement and the FBI. We got fighting between, not a tug and pull. The sheriff is very, very upset with his depiction in mainstream media as well as social media, and he is taking it out on News Nation because Brian Enton didn't leave like he was supposed to. He didn't take the cues from this sheriff. So this sheriff is intentionally and willfully not speaking to him or News Nation. I think this sheriff, he just gets worse and worse. I mean, we weren't going to be rude to the sheriff. We weren't going to be mean to the sheriff. He seemed like a nice guy, but we didn't. And we went through, we don't need nice guys as sheriff, right? We need guys with balls and backbones. He's pretty much our balls and backbones comment, why that's on the ballot this year. And, he's not really doing a good job of keeping us informed, and two, providing us accurate information. I mean, that seems to be a real problem too for the sheriff, and constantly backtracking crap. I mean, even putting the target directly on the back of Annie and Tommaso, unintentionally but intentionally. I mean, how do you mistake a phone call that they got at 11 o'clock as being at the house at 11 o'clock? I mean, he proclaimed that for days, that these people went to that house and sat there for an hour lollygagging before they finally called law enforcement. That was inaccurate. And it's what made us really believe that Annie and Tommaso had something to do with it. And a lot of you guys still believe in the back of your mind that they may have. And I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise, because I really don't know what happened here. And in all fairness, we've been having the sheriff tell us something and then retract it. So I don't know, if it's going to ever be retracted. Are we going to have a retraction of the clearing? I don't think we are. I don't think that this family had anything to do with it, in all honesty. I really don't. I felt uncomfortable at the beginning. I trust my gut instinct with all of this stuff, a lot of this stuff, and I trust my logic. Sometimes I'm way off base, and sometimes, and most of the time, I'm pretty. We have a good batting average, but we do make mistakes. We're human. But I never really got on board with the family, the immediate family. Like, I felt it was personal, but I didn't know how personal it was. But it seems like, News Nation is really starting to strike back with how poorly this case. And this is why I like News Nation. Being a journalist is not always easy, okay? It's stepping on toes at times. And the problem is our news have become such wussies that's with a P, with all fairness. It's just I'm trying to be PG or G rated this morning. But I'm just going to say wussy, but you guys know I'm saying it with a P, a big strong P. But we have media out there that are wussies, and they don't want to step on toes or challenge the status quo. And that's not journalism. That's being lazy. So we will always stand up and root on any mainstream media that does their job. I mean, to be honest with you, the reason why most of us are here on social media is because we're sick of mainstream media not doing their job. I can tell you, Brian Enton has never been one of those people that I've ever included in my complaints with mainstream media. Brian Enton, Vinnie Politan, Nancy Grace, they're all, some of my absolute faves, okay? And they're mainstream media journalists. So I do have respect for the profession when they do the profession right. Okay, but all this other crap that we're dealing with, like the news in Sumner County and Nashville, they suck. I mean, there should be more content creators in Nashville and in Tennessee than there should be news organizations, because your news sucks. Send an email. Okay, Tabitha, thank you. I'll check the emails in just a second. They suck. So they're being hit back, and then we're going to get into the shocking information. So if you're just tuning in, you haven't missed a thing with this show yet. I'm Bullhorn Betty. We're covering the case of Nancy Guthrie and her disappearance. And we've got a lot of talking points here. What is missing from the house? We told you yesterday we were going to be asking that question. What is missing from the house? And that's related to what we learned about Nancy Woodrum's case and how that all transpired and how eerily similar those two cases are. But let's get back to this lady here. She is taking no prisoners when it comes to Sheriff Chris Nanos. She just neutered this sheriff. So that's why she is being displayed on the Bullhorn Betty channel. She took his junk and took a lopper and went, yuck. Just saying. Just saying. Good girl, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and give her a hand before we start. Look at her. Give her
on her doorstep, a masked, armed intruder caught on camera. Yet there's no arrest, there's no suspect named, and there is no closure. The Nancy Guthrie case is gripping the nation, but the harder question is, has the Pima County Sheriff's Office failed this investigation? And if so, can anyone hold them legally accountable? As a criminal defense attorney of over 2 decades, allow me to break this down today. So first,
I do want to say there ain't a damn thing you can do. When you're wronged, and listen to this. This is something else that's going to blow your freaking mind. This is shocking. Shocking. Our government that we spend billions of dollars to and trillions of dollars in debt to support them, by the way. This is why I say fire the flippin' federal government. We're not guaranteed services. We are not guaranteed services. You think the people making laws are representing us? They're not. Okay? They're not. When we're freaking $30 trillion in debt, damn it, there better be some damn guaranteed services from our federal government. I don't know about you, but this reporting is not only shocking, but it's about to piss all of us off, okay? Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, because I'm telling you, I demand services, and I expect services, and I expect what I'm paying for, okay? And when I'm told that we're not guaranteed services, boo-boo, it's time for us all to start working and getting some laws changed so we can expect those services or hold somebody accountable. It's so funny that these people that take all of our money and that we have to trust to do the right by us, that keeps doing wrong by all of us, and we have no way of saying you're fired except at the ballot box? Get the F out of here. This is people's lives. This is going to piss you all off. If you guys haven't been pissed off this morning, come on in. Happy Friday. It's Friday the 13th. It's Friday the 13th. Don't forget, 1 month ago today, by this evening, that was the first time we learned about Luke Daly, by the way. Friday the 13th. February Friday the 13th. We're in March Friday the 13th. So come on in. You guys are going to get really nice, good, and mad. It's time for us to get a little mad.
first we have the idea of a crime scene contamination. The crime scene reportedly was left open and unprotected. There was no security tape, no perimeter. 2 reporters allegedly were allowed access to the crime scene area, which is a big no-no. The scene was described as grossly contaminated. And a contaminated crime scene, ladies and gentlemen, can destroy a prosecution long before it even begins. And Pima County deputies also overlooked a roof-mounted camera during their very initial inspection. So a lot of lost time here. And then, we've got the idea of a missing aircraft. So Sheriff Nanos of Pima County Sheriff's Department is accused of not getting a thermal imaging search plane airborne.
I just want to let you know, we've reported all of this. This is how accurate the reporting here on the Bullhorn Betty channel is. And we reported all of this information weeks ago. Okay? So if you're concerned whether you're not getting accurate and full information, if you've been here and been following us, you guys will know that we've already reported all of these issues, including this plane and the infighting of the pilot with Sheriff Nanos. We reported this weeks ago. So this, just to let you know, we've known about and we've reported to our audience weeks ago. But it is true. If you guys were concerned, whether it was true or not, it's true.
For 3 hours after Nancy Guthrie was reported missing. The alleged reason, well, he's clashed apparently with the only deputy who knew how to fly this plane. What did he do? He reassigned the guy because they had a clash. Reassigned the guy to street patrol. What? 3 hours in a kidnapping case is a lifetime. It's time that you just cannot get back. And then there's also the leadership optics. You know, the idea that on February 7th, when Savannah Guthrie and her siblings released a video begging for their mother's return, Sheriff Nanos was seen attending a University of Arizona basketball game. I mean, come on, dude. Like, literally, please, don't be socializing during this critical time. And what really, really irks me, y'all, is that he has turned federal resources away. Like, no thank you. This is my case. This is my little turf, and I'm going to handle this like I'm doing such a great job, right?
This is the problem. This is the arrogance that we have in a lot of law enforcement. This is what we're dealing with in the Sebastian Rogers case. It's what we're dealing with in the Summer Wells case. Guys, your votes matter with these sheriffs. This has got to come to an end. We've got to start asking our sheriffs, when we have a high-profile case, are you going to hand it to the FBI? Yes or no? We want you to hand it to the FBI. We need to start making that part of our conversations with our sheriff. If our sheriff has got it, they got it. But this one, we've been complaining about, like, they will not take any constructive criticism. They keep saying we don't know what the hell we're talking about. Really? All of us know nothing about crime. None of us. None of us. Not the professionals, not the FBI, the ex-FBI agents. None of us. None of us know what the hell we're talking about here when it comes to this sheriff really dropping the ball in this case, and then having this arrogance of it being his baby and not just giving it to the people that can get this case solved. They have more resources than Pima County. They have more resources than the state of Arizona. Period. This is a high-profile case with one of the most beloved talk show hosts, Savannah Guthrie. Like, everybody on both sides of the aisle want to see this lady come home and want to find out what happened to her. This is a no-win situation for the sheriff. He needs to give this up. And he's not. So I'm just going to drag him, just like News Nation is.
So let's start with his resistance towards the FBI and their parallel investigation. You know, he should have immediately deferred to the FBI, and he didn't. And he should have sort of allowed the FBI to use its resources, which is infinite, in a timely way. He didn't. He took critical evidence and sent it to a private lab instead of sending it to FBI's Quantico lab, located in Quantico, Virginia. Now, recently, as of yesterday, we learned that the United Cajun Navy has submitted a detailed 41-page operational plan to Sheriff Nanos in late February. The plan offers dozens of search dogs.
I'm sorry, I don't believe that the United Cajun Navy does have these dedicated dogs. We saw what they brought out to the Sebastian Rogers case. I'm sorry. I know people are trying to make the United Cajun Navy something that they are not. They are not Cajun Navy 2016. Everybody thinks the United Cajun Navy is Cajun Navy 2016, the one that went out into Katrina and started recovering bodies. That is Cajun Navy 2016. I know this because we covered it extensively through the Sebastian Rogers case, and it really upsets me more than anything else that our news companies are not getting it. Okay? These people have never done anything more than bring up money and get food supplies for different organizations around their community. If you look at the history of the United Cajun Navy, you'll see that they developed years after the Katrina. The only one that was established around the time, not even at the time of Katrina, about a month or two later from Katrina, was the Cajun Navy 2016. So I would hope that if anybody out there in the news is watching, please get your facts straight, because the United Cajun Navy, yes, it's a nonprofit, but they stole the Cajun Navy 2016's history. That's not their history. Anyways, I digress. You guys get it. So I'm not liking it. Even with the operational plan, I know what United Cajun Navy resources are, and I don't see them having this many trained dogs. I'm sorry, I just don't. That's a lie.
Advanced drone technology to sweep the rugged Catalina foothills terrain, essentially really helping with the search for Nancy Guthrie. As of March 5th, Nanos has still not signed off. citing concerns about contaminating a live criminal investigation. Well, sir, you've already contaminated the crime scene.
Oh my gosh. Who believes, now that we're kind of here, let's just stop. Let's poll the audience. Who believes the crime scene is contaminated? Not because she says it, just because of everything that you've witnessed, everything that you personally have knowledge of, crime scene techniques, what you've watched over the course of the years. If you believe the crime scene has been contaminated, put a 1 in the chat. If you think that you've seen this before, it didn't have a big deal, put a 2 in the chat. You're either a 1 or a 2. So start polling now. Sheriff is loyal Democrat running an illegal drug hub from Mexico into Pima County. It could very well be. I don't trust this sheriff. I mean, I thought he was just kind of, older and just a nice guy, kind of living a humdrum lifestyle, maybe didn't have a whole lot of crime out there. We're used to sheriffs like that. They're just okay, so we've got 1s. We got a lot of 1s. Okay, as soon as this attention is over with Nancy, then everybody needs to understand Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers has the same problem. Exactly, and that's why I keep saying we've got to. This is going to be the case that I'm constantly backing back and forth between Sebastian's case, because a lot of you guys follow me because of the Sebastian Rogers case, and now we're Nancy's case. So Lisa thinks that there's possibility to recover from all of this. So that's good. I'm glad you're staying optimistic, love. Thank you for that, though. Yeah, sneezing my butt off. I'm here. I'm late. Oh, you got allergies. All that pollen out there. So Mike believes that we can recover from this as well. So some people believe that, yeah, the majority of our audience does believe that this crime scene was heavily contaminated. That's what we heard, because this is the problem, and I can see kind of the problem is, like, even now they can't take the mat, and that's what I said. During crime scene techniques, anything that could potentially have to come in contact with the suspect or the victim, you're supposed to take. And when you saw the blood out the front door, everything in that area should have automatically been swept up, taken, because the blood shows that and especially after, the blood came back as Nancy. So you definitely know Nancy touched all that stuff as she's, going out the front door. So, I'm looking at this, and I can't understand why seasoned crime scene technicians would not have looked out that front door and vacuumed up all of that trace out there. They should have vacuumed that entire front door area. They should have taken that mat. So that was our first inclination when we looked at this. Bullhorn, the FBI, had their chance to take the doormat, but by that time it had already been contaminated, Mike. That's the problem. That's why they couldn't take it at that point. If the crime scene had still been locked down and none of the reporters had been able to walk up to that front door, then I could still see. But after the crime scene came down and the crime scene was released back to the family, whether they locked it down again or not, anything at that point is very tricky to collect because of the chain of custody. And with the evidence, that is the most important thing with evidence. That's why they stop basically what they're doing. If you've ever seen, when we get to a crime scene, what are the first things that they start doing? They start setting up tents. They start putting out tables. They start getting out bags. They have the stuff there, because how it works is that the collectors go in, collect it, mark it as evidence. They bring it out of the house. Well, a person then has to start logging that stuff in. You got to show it went from this person to this person to this person to this person to the lab. And so, in all fairness, in my opinion, after that, when I was in the military, I never blamed my superior. And yeah, in the military, you really can't. That's a good way to get reprimanded too. My family's military. You never criticize up the chain unless you want to friggin' clean the toilets with a toothbrush. Your toothbrush. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, I get it. And at the end of the day, I don't think anybody could blame the superior on this. The crime scene technicians that went in there should have automatically knew to do that. Again, very upsetting that they didn't. I don't know why they didn't. Maybe there's a logical reason why they didn't, but there's nothing logical in my mind that will ever justify why they made the decision. I say, for me, it is never the cop's decision what's evidence and what's not. You collect anything that came in contact. You let the labs determine what's evidence and what's not. That's how I've always been told. And more times than not, I see where law enforcement is making that determination. They don't want to spend the money to test all this stuff, so they don't collect it. Oh, that's not necessary. That's not necessary. That's what it comes down to in many of these cases, what they deem should go, and be cost effective. But I'm sorry, that mat he stood on, he could have taken trace from his car and dropped into those little squares that, the little holes and stuff from the, I don't know. They should have taken the mat. Who agrees that they should have at least taken the mat at the front door? Am I the only one that is alone in this? Like, if you believe they should have taken the mat, put a 3. I'm not even going to do a 4 because I only care about the people that agree. No, I'm just joking. Let me vote. No, seriously, 3 or 4s, okay? Yes, they should have taken the mat. No, they shouldn't have. Yeah, I do believe. Yes, absolutely, Lisa B. I do believe. Oops, I hit the wrong one. So 3 and 4. Yes, they should have taken the mat. No, they shouldn't have. Okay, so at least I'm getting. I think they should have. You guys know how I feel about it. So it looks like you guys agree. Like that's something he stood on before he entered the house. Now, granted, he walked around the house, and they may say, "Oh, well, he walked around the house." I've heard people taking scissors and taking the freaking grass clippings to see if there's any trace in the grass clippings. Like, I've seen really good, thorough policing. You know who used to do real thorough, good policing? The cops back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They knew how hard it was to collect evidence. They collected everything. Like I said, they got freaking scissors out and started cutting freaking grass and collecting grass and putting it in as evidence. Anything that they thought where that assailant could have touched or dragged or anything, they clipped that. They don't even hardly do that crap anymore. Why? Some of that stuff 20, 30 years later, because they didn't have DNA at the time. Some of that stuff 20, 30 years later ends up being what solves the case. Those stupid grass clippings that nobody could understand why this person is doing it. And then they find out there's a little bit of spit from this assailant that's stuck on one of these grass clippings, and lo and behold, you got yourself a suspect, and now you got yourself a conviction 40 years later. This always was a first-degree homicide, never a kidnapping, burglary, or robbery, nor was it SA. Why was it only Savannah, Annie, and Tommaso that staged the memorial the other day? Where's the other family? That's a good question. Where is the family? Why is there no family around? Is there is there family turmoil? White Tiger, I mean, you do make it a valid point. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is a valid point. And, and it's kind of crazy because I heard Cameron is still there. We heard that Cameron might have been staying in Nancy's house potentially, without people knowing about it. So why didn't, if that is true, again, I don't know, I'm not there. This is what I'm hearing from all the way from Florida, so bear with me. But, it sounds like he took off in Annie's Subaru yesterday or the day before yesterday, which is what indicated that he was still in the area. So why didn't he go out there to the memorial, with the other family members? And it just seems interesting to me. If he was there, was he going through there to, reconcile what's in the house? Because something's got to be missing. And when we learned about Nancy Woodrum's case, it was because she was nice to her painter. She fed her painter. She gave, I'm from the South. Like, you do that. When you have a worker out there, You offer them, sweet tea, some lemonade, some water. It's Southern values. You do that. So if somebody was working here and I'm making lunch, I'd be like, hey, you guys want something? You guys want a sandwich or something? Have you guys eaten? It's just hospitality, even for your workers. They're human beings too, so most people get it. So this Nancy Woodrum, she gave the painter tamales. And he thought she was flirting with him for giving him tamales. And he came back in the middle of the night and raped her, beat her, and killed her, and wrapped her up in her bedding and took her out of the house. So this really kind of seems a lot like what we're dealing with here in Nancy Guthrie's case. And she was significantly older than this painter as well. She was like almost 70 years old. 69, I believe. 68, 69, something around there. And he was like in the 30s or 40s or something. I mean, significantly older than her. And he comes back in the middle of the night. Now, if he did think she was flirting with him, why would he have to break into her house? So this guy was all around kind of creep, And so she ended up fighting back, but he overcame her. And so it's very interesting because the way it was stated, this is what's creeping me out with this case, and we're about to get into it, is that he slung her over his shoulder. And why this makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up is because when we were first looking at all of that blood out the front door, one of the things that we noticed is that there was no footprints. There was no smears of footprints of them walking into that blood. And I kept asking, how in the hell are they saying the assailant went out the front door? There's blood on the front door, but we don't see any tread pattern or any footprint smears or anybody stepping in all this blood that's around. And how could that be? Because I couldn't figure it out. And so I threw it out to the audience. And you know what the audience came back and said? They said, he had to have slung her over his shoulder, and her head must have been behind him. So while he was walking, she's dripping the blood. She's dripping the blood. And that's why there's no footprints in that blood. And I'm like, okay, that resonates with me. Well, we didn't really think anything more about it outside of now we know how that could have happened, how there could be blood drops out the area that he came through. We see no drag marks through it. We see no footprints in it. We see nothing, no tire wheels in it. It's just nice, clean drops of blood. And so when we hear about this Nancy Woodrum's case and how he slung her over the shoulder after wrapping her up in the bedding, after R-ing her and killing her, we're like, okay, because remember I said this feels more sexual. Now I know, Mike, you're saying that you don't feel that there's a it wasn't Mike, it was who was it? It was, let me find you again. I don't know which one it was. White Tiger was the one that says he doesn't believe that this was a sexually motivated. One of my theories is that it was sexually motivated. And that was one of my very, very early theories of when I thought that this person acted alone. And it looks like some of those initial theories, you never know what you're going to get. But when you first assess a case, I kind of break things down, chuck them up and say, okay, here's theory 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or whatever. And then as information come, then this information may completely eliminate this theory or this theory. And so we did have the theory of Tommaso that was eliminated. Derek was eliminated. There was a lot of people that have been eliminated, but for the most part, we haven't eliminated unknown individuals. We haven't eliminated, say like Luke Daly today, a month ago, this evening, a month ago, is when Luke Daly was arrested or detained, rather, not arrested, detained, and had his home and his car impounded and searched by a federal search warrant. And we're hearing by Brian Enton, he's been trying very hard to get those search warrants. Those are supposed to be produced at the time of the search. There's only limited circumstances that they can withhold those, but they have to put a date when those will be released at the time, from everything I'm reading, at the time that they request them. So do they have these sealed for 6 months, 3 months, a month? Because today would be a month. How long are they going to be able to lawfully withhold those search warrants from the world? And because we're trying, because it sounds like none of the attorneys have been able to get them. None of the people that had their. I mean, I would be pissed if my sheriff came here. R is not sexual. It's about power. That is true. That is true. I do agree with that. But it's still something that gets them excited. I mean, it's the act of power that gets them. It's not the actual act. The physical, act that excites them and gets them to that point. It's the power, the control, and sometimes the pain that they inflict on somebody that gets them to that excited point. But it's not really about the actual physical contact. It's about everything else that make that physical contact possible. It's different. It's just different. Predators, their bodies are different. Hey, Karen, it's nice to see you, love. Deduct rather. I must have missed your first comment. The FBI, who has searched Luke's house, they have questions to answer. Yeah, I'd like to know. That's just it's very confusing for me because I understand that there are reasons that they need to withhold this stuff, and I'm not opposed to that. I believe our laws are what they are. I know they're not perfect, but I try to work around them and understand them as much as possible because my history is legal. I love the law. I really do. I don't think it's perfect, but nothing really is. Anybody that's expecting perfect, you're in for a rude awakening in your life because there is nothing perfect. No one's perfect. Nothing's perfect. Expect mistakes, okay? If you think you're never going to deal with mistakes, you are already setting yourself up for failure, okay? But I don't like people using lawfare. I mean, I understand we need to shake the trees and rattle the trees, but there's lawful ways to do it. And I hope that nobody is trying to hide, fabricating information to get search warrants. I don't think that's the case. I think they're trying to protect their assailants, but they can do that by redaction. They can have approvals for redactions. It might need to be by court order, but they can have approvals for redaction. So they can get some stuff out. Yeah, don't forget to, thank you, B. Betty. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you guys are coming in or coming out. So it's been 1 month ago today since Luke Daly was being raided. We're hearing how terrible leadership and morale is with Pima County Sheriff. This lady gave him a FU sandwich. And again, I think maybe this is why I think News Nation is fighting back against the bullcrap from the sheriff because he's trying to hide his, in my opinion, his lack of leadership. I think his lack of leadership is really becoming front and center. The fact that the people under him don't respect him. I think that this is all really, really wearing on this case, and it's making a spectacle out of this case. If he really wanted to keep this all hush-hush, especially the morale and the stuff going on in the department, he should have handed this case off to the FBI. But now that he's chose to hold on to it and ruin this family's life because he refuses to hand it over. Could they have saved Nancy? I don't know. We'll never know. We'll never know. Okay, period. We will never know if Nancy would ever have been savable because of Chris Nanos and his leadership. We'll never know. But he has opted to ruin his reputation, and we're happy to help. Okay? Again, we're not going to be begging for politicians to take social media seriously. At the end of the day, every single politician across this country needs social media to win elections. So if they really want to step on social media's toes, that's okay. We step right back. And I think that people need to start standing up and having backbones, including mainstream media. You are not beholden to these politicians. They are beholden to you. So until you guys figure that out, we, the people, and content creators like me are going to keep stepping up to the plate and doing these jobs and calling mainstream media out every single day. When we see good media, we support it. Okay, this is good media. This is good reporting. This is this is what we need in America. People calling these politicians out that are doing terrible things to their communities. They don't need to be staying quiet about it. These are affecting people's lives. These are affecting people's lives. Chris Nanos has affected Savannah Guthrie's entire life. He didn't do this, so we can't blame him for the crime. But we can blame him for the environment that created this crime. We can blame him for that because that was a pure failure of his department, his leadership, and that community, that whole government's leadership at that. Okay? That's not something we did. So we have leadership issues. And then we started learning about Nancy Woodrum's, which I believe is now refocusing us, the true crime community, on other possibilities here and removing the family out of the equation, because something else is going on here. The family in 42 days, that family has been ripped, it has been torn apart. Every single, they've had a colonoscopy, okay? There's nothing bashful that they've got to hide at this point, okay? Law enforcement has basically theoretically seen it all, okay? When it comes to that family, they've cleared that family. I believe with everything I know in investigations, their timing in clearing the family is reasonable, okay? They spent a lot of time in those neighborhoods. If the family had something to do with it, it would have been raised at that point. The family had nothing to do with this immediate family. But, again, it's being brought up, like, where's the rest of the family? Who else is involved in this family? Why is there no other family members, aunts, uncles, cousins coming out, speaking of their family member? Why is it just, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron? And why was it just Annie, Tommaso, and Savannah out there at the memorial? I mean, bless them for coming out and seeing and showing respects to the people that put together that memorial. First and foremost, that was to honor their mother, but also to honor the people that are honoring their mother. I think that was the most respectful and proper thing for them as a family to do, in all fairness. Okay, I don't think that was a media stunt or anything like that. I mean, media was there, but it is Savannah Guthrie. Media is going to be there, but I don't think that it is I think it was more to show respect to the world than it was, that just my perspective. I mean, they can honor their mom anywhere. They can honor it inside the house. They didn't have to come out in public. They could have stayed, in the shadows because of everything going on. But I really, truly believe that was an act. That was an act to, one, thank the world, but it might be an act to ignite or something for the assailant. We don't know. I believe Annie was crying out of happiness with all the flowers. I don't know. Seeing all those flowers, it would have been, a cry for the sorrow of everything, but probably how beautiful. I mean, people showed out for this family. I mean, they really did. Those yellow flowers were beautiful. I hope people are maintaining that, beauty there, and cleaning up all the dead stuff and taking out, because, we don't want things at the memorial dying. I'd rather it start getting smaller than starting to have dead, stuff. We had to do that with Gabby Petito's memorial too, make sure that we are cleaning up that memorial. So, it's just one of those things. But anyways, this is not part of our show just yet. We're going to get to, this is more Nanos lousy leader. We already know that, but this is where we're going to be getting to our shocking information. We're going to be covering about the next 20 minutes of this Nancy Grace show. Nancy Grace has been hitting a lot of the talking points straight out of the water. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for becoming the newest member of this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket in your padded room and welcome aboard, because I'm a love machine. Neighbors taking good care of the flowers. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. So hopefully that continues, because that's really, really important. You know, you don't want that to start shriveling. It's just bad for morale. It's bad for look. You know, just everything all together. He's probably not sure which ass to kiss first. Probably not. Oh, probably not. Okay, let's get back to this.
On all the information we have, we have to draw the conclusion that she was targeted due to her connection to Savannah and Savannah's celebrity. This salary search, the restaurant, expands the periphery of folks that she was interacting with who would be interested in, hey, how much money did Savannah make? She's now become a target. And is someone at that restaurant focused on learning what the net worth of Savannah is and what the potential value of a ransom for Nancy would be?
You know what? Joe Scott Morgan, or as he likes to be called, Joseph Scott Morgan. I know to some people it may sound far-fetched. It's not far-fetched. There are con artists and scammers just circling like vultures all the time.
And that is true. Thank you, Sonia. Sonia gifted 5 Bullhorn Buddy memberships. If you received your 5 Bullhorn Buddy memberships, thank you, Sonia, because I'm a love machine. Don't forget to thank Sonia for the gifted memberships. To Boss, it's nice to see you. Put a lid on it. She ran Calling Wildfire, Tabitha, and Carly. Welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket in your padded room and welcome aboard, folks. Welcome aboard. So we're learning about this. We're learning about, possible other suspects that could be targeting Nancy Guthrie, maybe for her affiliation or being the mom of Savannah Guthrie. Maybe Savannah going back to Tucson and doing a big show on her, where she came from. Might have done that. Oh, thank you. Did I just see? Oh, yes. Melanie gifted a Bullhorn Betty membership. Thank you. Gifted a Bullhorn Betty membership to Fusion. Welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket in your padded room and welcome aboard. Thanks, Melanie, because I'm a love machine. Ow! 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 Tabitha, I totally agree. This guy is good too. Yeah, I like him. He's on a lot of different podcasts. He's very good to listen to.
They see an elderly lady like Miss Guthrie and think,
look at it.
why do I?
We're feeling the love. I'm a love machine. Veronica B gifted 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships. That goes to Cass, Amanda, Jody, Sebon, and Inferno. Welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum.
All I can say is it's totally fake news. It's fake. It's fake.
I welcome you. I promise it's not fake. I grabbed the wrong button. Welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. They kind of look the same out of the peripheral vision. I'm just saying. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I want to work at a restaurant for minimum wage and tips? Or why do I want to fill in the blank when I can come up with a scheme and get millions of dollars? That's the person we're looking for.
Yeah, this is for somebody like this is very low hanging fruit, Nancy. When you think about it, and plus, if you walk into an environment like this and with this cause of celebrity, if you will, and you've got somebody that's very high profile and they do see an easy target, Nancy, you know what? When Mrs. Guthrie would have walked in there, just keep in mind she would not have merely walked in there. They would have seen she would have seen that they would have seen that she's the weakest among us, right? She's barely ambulatory. She has to have assistance when she walks.
True.
And so they could target her, just kind of profiling her on their own. And they see her adjacent to her daughter. You get this search coming up, and she can become, at that moment in time, kind of a high value target. And that's kind of the risk that you run when you're in the media like this. You really put a big target, not just on yourself, but also your peripheral family members as well.
And you don't realize that. Like I said, the stuff that we dealt with was not on, millions of people. Like, we knew who was targeting us. We knew who was, doing stuff to us. And this is, on such a much bigger stage. Like, we had thousands of people we had to worry about. Like, Savannah's got millions. Okay? Millions of people. In my opinion, this was done by hired hitman. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that, Mouse. In my opinion, this was done by a hired hitman for an individual in high power. It was either done out of revenge or to silence her. Also possible that the hired hitman was silenced too. Interesting. I tell you, I am not opposed to the hired aspect because of who Savannah is. Could somebody get some punks to carry this out for a few $1,000s? Absolutely. I absolutely think they could. Especially people that are in the biz. You can find just about anything if you're in the biz. You know where to look. People, I don't know how to express it, but in my opinion, my stuff must be delivered. In my opinion, Delilah, knock it off, honey. It's okay. Oh, Ruby, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ruthie. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, you can't run. I agree about that. So, we've got some things here that, in my opinion, I do agree that there is definitely a theory and a path forward with that assessment. I really do, because I kind of feel there may be something that this may hold water. She, like Matt Lauer, we heard Matt Lauer, we heard, her ex-husband, that Mark Orchard guy from overseas that was a producer, BBC producer. We hear that her husband worked with the Clintons. All the Democrats are in the hot seat. All the high-profile Democrats are kind of in the hot seat right now, being called in for Epstein, and many of you guys were bringing up Epstein at the beginning of this case, and her involvement in Epstein and stuff like that. Is this a way to keep her silent about something else by taking her mom out? There's a lot of theories that can be had, with this dynamic. And I don't know. I'm not opposed to that, to be honest with you, Matt. I'm really not. I'm not opposed to that. We don't know what we're dealing with here, and I've got several running theories, and including Luke Daly, So, but that is one of the theories. Also, this RNSA theory, that is also another theory that I have. That's why I think she is dead. It's sad. Yeah, I think, and you guys, if you've been with me since this case, you guys know my feeling on it. I think she was dying or dead when she left the house, personally speaking. But again, that's just me. We don't know. I think that law enforcement does. I think they know what happened to her inside that house based on her pacemaker. It sounds like she was in that house with her pacemaker hooked to the app Up until it was disconnected at 2:28, we've never heard anything about what was on that app. But we know that there had to have been her heart literally going through her chest at some point. This had to have been a very scary and violent situation, period. He and his family moved to Greece and Edinburgh, England, where the royal family is from. Interesting. All right, let's keep going.
To Brian Fitzgibbons joining us, USPA Nationwide Security. Brian, if you think scammers, con artists aren't all around you, just the other day, I called a friend on APD. I was so irritated because at the same parking lot, I saw a man and a woman, the same man and woman with their children scamming for bus fare. And I'm an easy target. You know, I see someone asking for money and feel like it's my duty to give them whatever I have, right? So the first time they got me, I had a total of $3 crumpled up dollars. I gave it to them and drove off. They were going to catch the bus that evening. Well, 2 days later, there they were. And what made me so mad is they have a baby and another little child, maybe 3 years old, scamming with them. So my point is, scammers are everywhere. They will even use their children to scam you. And what may have started as something where nobody's supposed to get hurt, I'm just going to take Nancy Guthrie, I'm going to get my $1 million from Savannah, and then she's going to be fine, I'll return Mrs. Guthrie. But it didn't turn out the way they planned. So
who's believing this theory? Do you believe that this was maybe a hired or just somebody identifying Nancy Guthrie and saying, "Oh my gosh, that's Savannah's mom. She's got to be worth millions. They would pay millions for this lady." How many of you guys believe that? I think we're at what are we at? 5 and 6. 5 that this theory is hold some water for you. And 6 it doesn't hold water for you. Saliva, hired. So people are starting to say, okay, I got apple fritter. Don't be making us hungry. So Jamie thinks hired. Not hired, in my opinion. So you think it was just a random? Are you guys feeling that this is, even if this wasn't hired? Do you feel that maybe this is somebody that targeted her like this? That we believe she's yes, 5, 6, no. So some people are saying no. I don't think it has anything to do with Savannah. What do you think it has to do with, Lisa? That's interesting. Five all day. Okay. Okay, well, that's interesting. Okay. I mean, like I said, there's no right or wrong answers here because we really don't know what happened. This is as much as we know. We know that there was a masked gunman on the outside of Nancy's home, and we know that masked gunman would have had to remove her from that house. So we're trying to figure out who that masked gunman is. And was this person there for a robbery gone bad? Which, again, if they're targeting her to get her because they believe she is the item to be stolen, right? She's the money. Let's look at this maybe a little differently. They keep saying, nothing of value was taken from the house. I disagree with that. Something of infinite value was taken from that house. Nancy was taken from that house. Was Nancy the high ticketed value item that they were going in there to remove? You see? And that's where this ransom comes in, which we've never, it's hard for me to believe this ransom because I don't believe any of those ransom notes were legitimate. But there's still, just because I don't think there was none legitimate doesn't mean there was none legitimate. So I still have to pander to the fact that there may have been a ransom note that was legitimate, I think the nation's going to be, I do too. How far did Luke Daly live from her? Like 2 miles, Sarah. Like maybe he was in the window of, statistic window. statistical window of dumping. This is kind of a rural. I don't know how to express this. It's like these lots are really big. That area, in my opinion, is the worst planning I have ever seen. I have never seen such crazy roads in my life. That right there is just people having no clue what in the world they are doing. I have never seen, like, when you I deal with my planning of this county, so when I see this, like, it's one of these things that I am very fluent in. I am very fluent in planning and county planning, okay? And seeing all of this out there, that whole entire Catalina foothill area, it's just whoever their planner was, you're fired, okay, boo-boo? You fired. I don't know where the hell you got those streets and did that. It's like they just plop things down and like, oh, we'll just put one here and we'll just put one here. That's okay. We'll just make a road to go around it. And then we'll split it off here and then we'll split it off here and then we'll split it off here. Like, what the hell? Do you guys not know you could just put one road and kind of put these in boxes and make it nice and pretty and give them all that stuff? Good gracious, it's a hot mess express out there. I've never seen something so chaotic as far as planning. But I digress. I don't know what we're dealing with here, but it seems like whoever was out there would have had to know how to navigate that area from everything I'm understanding. So I've always thought that maybe this was closer to home than we thought. Not necessarily closer to home that it's, Tommaso or family members, but closer to home, like this is like off the beaten path. I mean, her house is off the beaten path. It's not on a main thoroughfare. It's not on a main artery. It's not on a main anything. You've got to drive back to find her house. She's in the middle of nowhere, but in the middle of somewhere. It's hard to explain.
So, con artists aren't necessarily good-hearted people that just need a helping hand, Brian, and they're more common than we realize.
Absolutely. And you have to understand, rolling into this restaurant in Tucson with a film crew and an entourage of people filming Savannah and Mrs. Guthrie certainly would draw a significant amount of attention, and that would be out of the ordinary. This isn't, parts of LA or Manhattan where this is happening on the regular.
And I've got to agree with that, because I can tell you, even as YouTubers, when we were going into Walmart, when we were in the crew and had our entourage and we were going into Walmart, everybody stopped to look at us. When we were buying stuff, like in the Summer Wells case, and we were buying groceries, we were out there with Marissa. We were buying like $600 for groceries for a couple of the churches out there to get, to donate large sums of groceries out there, because, Hawkins County is a very poor community. And we wanted to make sure we paid our respects to the churches that help those individuals out, getting groceries and stuff like that. And so when we were in the grocery store, people were all looking at us. I mean, like we were freaking crazy. We had cameras going and everything else like that rolling in this grocery store, and everybody didn't know who the hell we were. Some people did. Some people knew who Chronicles of Olivia was. So it was really cute. Even in the middle of nowhere, we had some fans. So but it is true. I mean, it is a spectacle. It's that everybody's head turns and looks directly at you and like, who the hell is that? And then everybody's like, who is that? And they're like, oh, that's Savannah Guthrie from the Today Show. Oh my gosh, Savannah, I didn't know she grew up around here. That type of thing. So did this play into this? I think this is why Savannah was potentially not going back to the Today Show. I think she knows that this may have contributed to her mother's demise, and that's got to be something. She's going to blame herself the rest of her life. She shouldn't blame herself. I want to be very clear. Nobody in this family did anything wrong. The only people that did something wrong is the criminal that hurt this woman. You should be able to live your life. You should be able to be on a screen. You should be able to talk, and you should be able to live without some crazy lunatic wanting to destroy you or your family.
This would be certainly something out of the ordinary that would draw a tremendous amount of eyeballs from the wrong people.
Another thing, Fitz, is I guarantee you they are asking even the nice lady that is the maitre d' or the hostess that takes you to your table, I guarantee you they're saying, hey, are you married? Who's your husband? Do you have a son? How old is your son? Do you have a son-in-law? Do you have a freaky cousin that's...
See, what did I tell you? Remember when we were talking about like the people at the house? I was saying it's not necessarily just the people that work at that house. How many times did maybe a kid get sick from school and have to come to work with their mom or dad? And they were at this house, and this may have been some time. Well, I know this rich lady. We can go over there and hit her house. There's so many things that you have to look at here. They brought in a major entourage into a local restaurant to show where they love to be. They were giving an insight into, the upbringing, because a lot of people, especially that have made it to Savannah's level of notoriety, people want to know. They're interested in where you came from, what schools you went to. They're interested in knowing that you're human, that you're a human being, that you came from the United States of America, and that you truly did grow up here, and you're not some alien that was put down here and you're just an image on a screen, right? It's kind of crazy. People like knowing where people come from, what their life was like, what schools they went through and went to, and stuff like that. It's just very interesting to people. So I think it was something like that. It was something very innocent. It's something that everybody kind of does. And this may have been just a lethal combination because some crazed lunatic decided to take knowledge and too far and try to get something that they didn't deserve, whether it was like an essay type of thing, money, or whether they thought they were going to literally hold this lady as ransom. Like, what idiot actually thinks they're going to be able to pull off a ransom in 2026? I mean, I'm not trying to sound like condescending, but how can you not? Like, what? How stupid do you need to be? It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, people are just idiotic, but maybe not. We still don't know what we look, because I don't think this fits either.
It's been in and out of the pen. They're asking all of these restaurant workers, I would assume, about their families, because when grandma hostess goes home and goes, hey, guess what happened at work today? Savannah Guthrie was there with a film crew and la 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 la. And then you got the black sheep son-in-law sitting at the kitchen table for a free meal going ding, ding, ding. It doesn't have to be one of them or one of the patrons. It could be someone connected to.
That's what we've been talking about.
To them. See where I'm going? I mean, the web, the tentacles of this are pretty substantial.
Spot on. And that's what we were saying weeks ago with relation to any workers that were in and out of Nancy's house on a regular basis. It may not necessarily be them, but somebody in their circle who's aware of Savannah's celebrity, her money,
Right.
and Mrs. Guthrie's location.
Straight out to special guest joining us, Christian Hammond, artificial intelligence expert, professor of computer science at North.
Look at those. Look at those roads. Like, those roads are a hot mess express. I don't know who did this to this community, but they're never going to be able to fix the damage they've done in this area at all. I don't know, when in Arizona, we're going to be, as time goes on, just like Florida used to be spread out like this until it wasn't. There's going to be a time and a place that people start moving in, and they're going to have to start splitting properties and dividing properties and putting more houses on here. And they're going to have no place to grow these streets at all. This is just a mess. Again, poor planning. Everything in this area is just poor. And everybody's like, oh, we got the best of everything. No, you don't. You think you do because that's all you know.
Northwestern
But when you know, you know.
University, not shabby.
Okay, I will tell you guys before we get into this segment of it, Nancy Guthrie, because this guy speaks over her head. Nancy hates that. She wants you to dumb it down. And when you start laughing at her because you got to dumb it down, she about to neuter you. Just be careful. I'm just saying, if you ever get an opportunity to go on Nancy Grace's show, she likes 5th grade language. Okay? I'm just saying, she likes 5th grade language. If you're going to go there, have it broke down in stupid language, because that's what she wants. She wants stupid language. She wants to make sure that somebody that's uneducated watching her show understands what you're talking about. Just saying. Just saying. This has always been about vulnerable little old lady, in my opinion. Essay all day long, unfortunately. In my opinion, power over a matriarch, allegedly, and in my opinion, yeah, something like that, Lisa. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think it was a robbery. Well, you guys know I've had a problem with this whole robbery thing. It doesn't bode with statistics. Now, granted, we are used to things, possibly not boding with statistics, and that's fine. But this does not bode with statistics, the whole robbery thing. Sexual assault, yes. Kidnapping, yes. Ransom, yes. These things would kind of bode with what we're dealing with. But it's the reason why I've always thought that there may be a sexual motivation here, a sexual assault motivation here, is because of the camera being removed. It seemed to me like everything this assailant touched, he took with him. So he was overcautious. He obviously understands touch DNA, or has a common knowledge that it can get you in trouble. To me, it just seemed like everything he touched went with him, including that camera. And that's one of the reasons why I believe this lady was dying or dead when she left the house, is because he took the camera. There was something bad that happened inside that home that I don't believe was intended. But it always came back to, why was he at that home at that time of night? And now that we know that this was scoped out, this was, there was some strange activity weeks before this lady disappeared. It just really supports that somebody intended to go in that house while she was in the house. So there's only a few reasons why that would happen. There's only a few reasons why that would happen. And SA would be one of those reasons. So if you're wondering why we came up with that so early on, is because we knew that this person went in that house at night. And robberies, if somebody was burglarizing that home and wanted to rob it, that would have happened during the day when nobody's home. Or when perceived, not that she wouldn't be home, but perceived nobody would be home. So typical professional burglars and robbers hit residents during the day and hit businesses at night. That is kind of the MO of robbers. They know it, because robbers want to get the whatever they want. They want to get the valued items without having the resistance of anybody. They don't want anybody being there. They don't want anybody trying to stop them. They want to get in, they want to get their product, they want to get out. That's your typical run-of-the-mill robber, burglar. They don't want to see you. They don't want you knowing they're there. They don't want you calling the police. They want to get in and get out as quickly and without being seen as possible. They're not wanting to they don't want to come in contact with the soul when they're doing their business. So for somebody to target a house and to intentionally break in the middle of the night, they're looking for that person to be at their most vulnerable position. So there's only a few reasons why somebody would do that. And so that's where the whole SA aspect of this case kind of came in very early. I don't think that that's been dismissed, especially as the more that we're leaning more toward a stranger danger type of theory. I think that is definitely a good and plausible theory as to why somebody would break into an elderly woman's house in the middle of the night. I think that would be more of a possibility than them thinking this house was empty, which is one of my other theories, that they must have went in here because it may have looked like nobody lived there or whatever. And I even said that was probably a low probability theory, but we still had the theory. So this is where we're at. This is all too shocking for me, okay? And moreover, I think what the most shocking part of it is again, going back to Nancy Woodrum's case. This has so many eerie similarities to Nancy Woodrum, and she was ARD. She had a painter that was at her house. She had Southern hospitality, or what I call Southern hospitality. She probably gave him some drinks and gave him a lunch. And he took that as an advancement or a flirting. And I don't even think he took it at that, because he thought she was flirting, he would have flirted back and they would have done something willingly during the day. He wouldn't have had to break into her house in the middle of the night, her and murder her and then drag her out of her own house. And her house was of high value as well. And the man that did that to her was her painter. And he was a witness to an altercation she had with another suspect that they thought did this. And that was the other contractor that she had, that they had been arguing. Well, this painter happened to inform law enforcement about that altercation with the other contractor, which he went from witness to suspect very quickly. So it sounds like this intruder was prepared at Nancy Guthrie's house, including either having a walkie-talkie or a jammer. We've got to look at that, because I think I did see something over his ear, potentially. And so we're going to have to look at that and discuss, because this might be something where there are multiple people, and I think we might be able to prove that there are multiple people affiliated or associated with this. But we will get back to that. That will be later today. You're not going to want to miss that show either. So we'll set that up before we leave here today. We're not even close, guys. I know we're on our second hour. We still have another hour of this show before we're done.
Director of the Center for Advancing Safety of Machine Intelligence. You've seen Transformers, right?
Yes.
Okay. That said, Christian Hammond, let's just go with me on this. Let's just pretend the kidnapper is, let's just say, not that smart. The ransom note is inconsistent with that, because our friend Harvey Levin at TMZ said that at least one of the ransom notes, if they are connected, that's a big caveat.
Don't want this one. Sorry. This is not, I don't want to hear about the ransom note. We'll get down a little further. I don't want to hear the ransom note. We're going to be talking about in another segment, and there's no point in showing that where our talking point's going to go.
You could, and it will simply give you a pattern of language that it's culled from looking at all the patterns of language it's seen before.
I forgot about this guy. Yeah, I don't want to hear that.
The restaurant workers, with the overlay of someone doing the Google Trend, we found on Google Trend the search for Savannah's salary and the mother's home address.
Ooh, satellite phone.
And someone savvy enough to do that.
Ooh, satellite phone. Satellite phones do look a little different. You are right. And I believe they have a weird little antenna on them. My uncle, you guys, I talked about my uncle before. He was retired Navy. Him and my aunt ended up selling like everything that because he was on the water, and they had nice stuff. And I just want to let you guys know they're not crazy people, but they seemed crazy for a little bit. They ended up selling all of their belongings, and anything else they put in storage, and they bought themselves like a 46-foot, 52-foot live-in sailboat to travel the country, to travel the world. It was a bucket list item for my uncle. And that's my first experience with a satellite phone, because he had to get a satellite phone to get, to have service out there on the water, because he's in the middle of the ocean. They were traveling around the world. So, snitching on me, then you, then who? I don't know. In my opinion, I don't believe robbery gone bad. I don't believe either. I believe if this was a robbery or burglary, it would have been during the day. Even if she was there, it would still have been during the day. It wouldn't have been at night. They targeted this lady at night for a purpose. Sheets, blankets gathered by sheriff for the lab, but there's still something missing. She was drug out of the house in something. He wouldn't have just thrown the lady over his shoulder uncovered. I would have to assume that she had to have been wrapped in something. Somebody even said they believe that in that backpack was a tarp. If that was true, then he was going in there to kill her. If people truly believe a tarp was in his backpack, then most likely your only theory is hitman. Because if there really was just a tarp in that backpack and no burglary tools, so to speak, or limited burglary tools, that man was going inside that house to execute that woman. That's how I look at this. So I know that, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I know a lot of people came into this chat and said, "Oh, we believe it's a tarp. It looks like a tarp, a folded up tarp in his backpack." And if all of her sheets and blankets and stuff were there, then maybe it was. And if that was the case, well, I don't know. I don't know, guys. Yeah, like Dexter. I can't even watch that. You know what? I have a palate for gory. I haven't been able to get past the first episode of Dexter. I turned it off. I'm like, nope. Not for me. This is not for me. This is not for me. Let's keep going.
Could go on, as Christian Hammond is describing, very easily completely disguise their identity and come up with a neutral, or as he said, generic ransom note.
Yeah, and the question here is, right, they obviously went to great lengths in protecting their identity when they sent that ransom note. But where the human error can play a factor and the law enforcement can maybe find a breakthrough is prior to that. Is there a log? Is there a record of this conversation with one of the AI portals? Is there a log or a record?
Ooh, AI is so new to us. So this is going to be... Of course you do, Sonia. You freak. Well. Probably how she gets all of her twisted ideas about these cases that come out to be true. No, I'm just joking. Don't watch the Game of Thrones then. Oh no. Yeah, no, I haven't. I don't do... I used to be able to do gory until I got into true crime. Now it's not the same anymore, it's just not the same anymore. This makes you question it all. It does, Candy. You're absolutely right. It does make you question it all. I mean, the craziness of this case, and not only that, but it makes you question your own safety. I mean, this was a quiet community. People left their doors open. A lot of our country folk live just like that. This has got to pretty much scare people. I mean, people that live in the city, like Keith, he lives in Chicago. I'm pretty sure he knows to lock his doors and windows. I live in Manatee County. I lock my doors and windows. But you got to remember, there was once upon a time that we didn't. That we felt safe here in this community until we didn't. And when we stopped feeling safe in this community, that's when we started locking our doors and not associating so much with our neighbors. I remember back when we were in the 80s and 90s, like everybody knew everybody. We talked to our neighbors. We had our neighbors over for dinner. If the kids were missing or the kid, whatever, if they were over at our neighbor's house, we never thought anything of it. Now we have a single dude that wants to help kids. We look at him sideways, like, what the hell do you want with our kids, And it's like, I just want to help fix their bikes. So anybody that's innocent, that just wants to do kindness for kids are getting, side-eyed because there's so many predators that disguise themselves as wanting to help kids that end up hurting kids, right? So we've had a lot of experiences. We've watched a lot of news, and it scares us. Our society this day and age, in my opinion, scares us ever so slightly, but we try to see the best in people. And then when we hear stories like this, we start side-eyeing people again, and we start realizing we've let our guard down. We need to be more vigilant, and then we start getting more vigilant, and then, complacency, and that's what happens. It's just this spiraling effect of, we're really strong on our security, and then, complacency, nothing happens, so we're not as tenacious on keeping ourselves, safe. And next thing we know, we start leaving our windows open, during spring and stuff like that. So we've got to be very, very vigilant in our society today. And I know it's so hard to take things for granted and get complacent, but complacency is killing us, folks. So please, please, please be careful and start reviewing your cameras. There's one thing I noticed, like when I first put my cameras up, I was always watching my cameras. I'd always go and check to make sure nothing happened during the nighttime, around the house and stuff like that. And then as over time things happen, I stopped looking at the cameras as much. Look at this, like maybe if Nancy had that subscription and saw this masked gunman at her door on January 11th, it might have saved her life. So maybe start looking at your system. Sometimes you get, I know for me, excuse me, I get dings. I got these pygmy palms out in the front of the house, right? And in windy weather, they move just right. It triggers my camera. And it can trigger my camera literally all day long. And that's really why I stopped looking at that particular camera, because it goes off all day long. But it's just the movement of the trees instead of movement of people. But how complacent is that? What if I don't check it? What if somebody went by it? It wasn't. What if this one particular time, it's not the branches on the trees, it's not the palm fronds moving that's triggering? What if it's the masked boogeyman on the outside of my bedroom window? What if? So it's important to please check those cameras. And if you don't want to pay for the subscription, go with Blink and pay the $30 or $40 to get the sync cards. If you're putting up 8 cameras, you're probably gonna, if you want to keep your stuff for a month, you're gonna want probably 4 sync cards. So you're looking at $120 investment just for syncs. But at the end of the day, you're not paying a subscription, right? I mean, the first year of not paying a subscription, it pays for all of that itself. It pays for the equipment itself. And I've got mine strategically placed around the house. And if you really wanted to be, if you're close enough to your neighbor, you can actually put one of those sync cards in on your neighbor's house, and inside your neighbor's house. So if it's like, so you can be protected. So if somebody comes in, that at least one of your sync cards at the front, the main one, is at the neighbor's, right? So I would put like the front camera and the back camera on one sync card and place it over at the neighbor's house. So if somebody breaks into your house, you never, ever, ever have to worry about them getting and taking those sync cards. You will always have one of the front and back camera that is secured in a secured place. So think outside the box when you're placing those. If you have, I tell you, sometimes the best place to hide things is in plain sight. People don't see the stuff that's in plain sight. They're looking in your drawers. For example, when I was younger, my house was robbed, and I had all my gold jewelry, my gold necklaces. Like I had a card stuck in my my mirror, and all my gold necklaces were stuck on this card to hold so they didn't get crumpled up, because I had like those herringbones, that you bend them, it ruins the necklace. You guys know what I'm talking about. Well, when it ended up being one of my friends that broke into the house and robbed us. But it was funny because they went through the underwear drawer, but never saw all the gold jewelry sitting right there in front of their face, eye level, on a card that was attached to, like I stuck it into my mirror, had these like little decorative lines, like wood pieces. And so out of all the jewelry, the only jewelry that stayed in that house was mine. And trust me, this dude would have taken it. They took my watch out of my underwear drawer. I had some jewelry in my underwear, but my expensive gold necklaces were right in the person's face, and they didn't even see them. So I got to keep my jewelry, but my Florida State $150 Florida State Anthem watch was missing, and that actually ended up being what got this person arrested, is my Florida State watch. My Florida State watch was a custom watch, and when it went to the pawn shop, it had the anthem. You pushed a button and it played the Florida State anthem behind it. It was a gold and burgundy watch. It had the burgundy leather. It was a gorgeous watch. It was a gorgeous watch. And I don't have it anymore, but that's what ended up busting him. So, is there something missing from Nancy Guthrie's home that we don't know about other than maybe bedding? I think that if that was not a tarp in that man's backpack, that she had to have been wrapped up in a sheet, a bedding, or something. I don't see him walking out of that house with just this lady thrown over his shoulder. I think that would be too risky.
Of communication, preparing that document without the veil of secrecy behind VPNs
Right.
or Tor clients or things like that.
And back to Christian Hammond. He is an artificial intelligence expert, professor of computer science, Northwestern University, director of the Center for Advancing Safety of Machine Intelligence. So you're
Don't know.
protecting the machine? Oh, I'll get into that later. Christian, okay, all right. I recognize that you know so much more than I do right now, so I'm trying to phrase the best question possible. Let me just break it down as if you were on the stand.
Hey,
Christian
Stanley.
Hammond, if someone did use AI to generate this ransom note,
We're still on the ransom note. I want to get past this ransom note. That's not where I'm at. We're going to be talking about this segment about the ransom note another time.
But for her porch cam,
Okay.
for AI to write a ransom note?
again, yes and no. Yes, in that if the data are there, we can find it.
The data's there. We can find it.
For her porch cam, they knew the camera. Within Nest, within Google, they knew what they were looking for. They had a target. But imagine that same level of effort, but not for one camera, but for thousands of machines in the neighborhood, and hundreds of thousands of machines all across the country. It's this massive task, and it's not even clear exactly what they're looking for.
So that's what they're getting at, but that's still not my point. Let me get back over here to this guy.
Could end up being a person of interest. I mean, it spins out, Joe Scott, from the Google trend search we found to what Christian Hammond is describing, who would write the ransom note. Did they use artificial intelligence? There's a lot going on with these interviews. No wonder it's taken them 2 days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And let me give you another bit of insight here. It probably will not be the same agent interviewing the same person. It'll be another agent interviewing someone else, and they will have planned this. And the questions might even be restructured.
So many people are struggling to keep up with credit card payments every single month. American Financing can help.
Technology has.
Thank you for being with us. Jeff, how difficult is it to remove a tattoo, and how difficult is it to remove a full sleeve?
The technology has improved.
Okay, let me get back here. Where are we? Okay, we went there, we did this, and then she goes into a commercial. Here's her commercial. Here we go.
At some point, he reaches up to dismantle or up the door cam.
I see black and gray work. I can see some subtle shading.
I'm sorry. This looks a lot like the tattoos that I saw on Luke Daly's arm up top. A lot of what I saw. So anyways, here's some shocking information that we are finding out. We're finding out it's possible somebody can have their tattoos removed. Is anybody trying to have tattoos removed? Let's find out.
On the edges.
And when he does that, much is revealed. The tattoo on the porch guy's wrist, that sliver that we saw, there it is, thank you, control room. Is it part of a full sleeve? Typically, when a person has a full sleeve, they have another full sleeve. They can't stop themselves. Possibly even a neck or chest tattoo. I want to go straight out to a very special guest joining us. Is Jeff Garnett, co-founder of Inkless Tattoo Removal Centers at inklesstattooremoval.com. Jeff Garnett, thank you for being with us. Jeff, how difficult is it to remove a tattoo, and how difficult is it to remove a full sleeve?
The technology has improved quite a bit over the last 5 to 10 years. I've been doing this for about 15 years, so it's faster than it used to be historically, but it still takes time. It's not even with the best technology, the suspect would not be able to come in, get it lasered one time, and have the tattoo be completely gone. It looks to me in that picture like it is black ink, which usually can be removed completely with no trace or marks or scarring, but it could easily take up to a year. And that's even with the newest and most advanced technology out today.
So, Jeff Garnett, let me understand. It could take up a year?
Is anyone trying to have tattoos removed in the Tucson or Phoenix area? That would be interesting. I would like to also remind you guys, we do have, where is it? Give me a second. Here we go. Is it this one? No, that is one, but that's not the one I'm looking for. Give me a second. That's the one that shows his hand all swollen. I've got another one that shows him with the tattoos. Bear with me. I don't have them labeled, folks, so it makes it a little bit difficult. I got to try to remember where they are in order of about 100 different things. So it can, okay, I went to that one, maybe this one. There it is. Look at that right there. Can you guys see that? You guys cannot see that. There, you guys can see that. Look at that. Look right over here. Look at that look at the tattooing. Look at the black tattooing. Look at the style of the black tattoo. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to pick on Luke Daly, and I'm not accusing him of having any wrongdoing or anything to do with the Nancy Guthrie case. I didn't. Law enforcement said that there was probable cause to get a federal search warrant of his home, his person, and his Range Rover. I didn't do that. Law enforcement did that. But it does look like the same type of ink, doesn't it? I've been trying to say that there's been something with Luke that's I didn't look at Luke when he was first brought in. When they first took his car, if you go back to our prior videos, you'll see I didn't really talk too much about Luke. I think I spent several different, I think total of 20 minutes. I didn't really know him. I talked about him, and I talked about the other guy that was part of the dealership, Zach, right? I didn't know either one of them. I think I spent 20 minutes on both of them at the same time, and then it was like I hit it, I quit it. It didn't seem like it held water. And of course, we did have some conversations and some people coming back, and talking to us about the assailant and the FBI. And I remember playing it, and it was Turkey Man. And he called in and he says, it really looks like, does this person appear to be right-handed or left-handed? I remember that. And I went back, pulled up the video, looked at it. And the way that the gun was holding, the handle was held like to the right side, like he was right-handed. However, he kept using his left hand. And so Turkey Man had said, to me, it seems like he has, the way he's holding his right hand, it seems like his right hand is hurt. And, went back to that floodlight that was destroyed on the backside of the house. Could that have hurt his hand if he tried to jump up to break that, or whatever the case may be? Did that hurt his hand, or whatever? But it was just weird that was brought up, and it was brought up about the right hand. Turkey Man believed that this person observed, that he's observing in this footage that the FBI released, may observe this assailant, this masked gun assailant,
as having a hurt right hand. And so I dismissed it. We talked about it for a few minutes. He was on here. I think we had a conversation with him for about 12 minutes, Turkey Man, about this assailant and stuff like that. And then it was out of sight, out of mind. Well, Luke Daly decided to, with his mom, go and give an interview with a local news station there to plead their innocence and explain what happened and try to show people it's not them. And I didn't see the interview. Actually, it was probably about 3 days after the interview, and it was because somebody had sent me a picture of his swollen right hand. And as soon as I saw the swollen right hand, I remembered the conversation I had had about somebody stating that they believed the assailant had a swollen right hand or an injured right hand. And to see an injured right hand on someone, it blew my mind. Like, what are the odds of that? So that was when, yeah, and the eyebrow bone, yeah. But I missed all that. Like, I knew the sleuth intuition was talking about it and had already made the comparison with Luke Daly. And we kind of brought it up for a split second. Again, I only spent 15 minutes on this guy. I've spent more time since he's done his interview with that local news lady than anything, because she did show him walking in. We do have a step of him walking toward the foliage that looked almost similar to the way Luke Daly walked into that room. We have a swollen right hand. We have a thick, flat gold ring on his married finger ring, and we're observing on the right hand a middle finger ring. You know, why would he have one on a married finger when he's not married? Is it possible he moved the ring from the right hand to the left hand? And it is possible. We all know that our ring fingers are similar. They might not be identical, but a ring that fits on one finger typically fits on the other finger, maybe a little bit snugger or a little bit looser, but it fits. It won't just fall right off. So, we did observe that. And then we observed his mother being untruthful about a couple things. And now we're starting to look at the tattoos. And we see that this man here has a full sleeve tattoo, or what appears to be. It's definitely above his elbow. And you can tell that it's coming down past his elbow in this shot here. And this is of potentially his left hand, not necessarily his right hand, unless he's taking a selfie. Then you have a mirror image. And if it's a mirror image, that could very well be his right hand that we're previewing here. So we don't know which arm this is, whether this is his left arm, because I don't see any print on him. If he had print and the print was written backwards, we would know that this image would be reversed. But there's no print here. I don't see anything in writing. So I can't tell whether this has been mirrored or not. And that really determines whether this is his right hand or right arm or his left arm. And so I can't speculate on that with this photo, but he walks just like the porch guy. I thought so. I thought at least a step or two we could attribute to something we saw in that video. And so now we've got a gentleman here that does have tattoos on his arm, and they kind of look like what Nancy Grace is showing on her channel. Oh crap, did I lose Nancy Grace? I think I did. I think I wrote over Nancy Grace. Is it? Oh no. Where's our Nancy Grace? I did. I must have accidentally. Oh no, Nancy, where'd you go? That's okay, Nancy. That's okay, Nancy. We'll find you. Don't worry, boo-boo. We got you. Okay, let me go to my history. No, there she is. Oh, that's News Nation. There she is. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. So let's go back. Ooh, I didn't like that. Okay, let's go back just a little bit. Let's go back to the tattoo. All right. Here's our money shot. No, maybe not. There we go. Here's our money shot. I don't know. Look at the skull. Let me see if I can go in here a little bit. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see? Now my head's in the way. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. I don't know. I gotta say, folks, I mean, let me get on the right side. Let me get on the right side, or the left side. Hold on a second. Let me align this right. Let me get this over here. There we go. Maybe I can get it a little bit better. You know what? Let me pull this. I got a better idea. I know what I'm going to do. Let me pull this completely out of here. I know what I'm going to do here. Let's pull that completely out of here. Let's get Nancy Grace back up. There's the shot. You right above my head. Oops. Let's add a secondary green screen in here. Let me move this over so you guys can get a good look at that. Let's get a secondary screen in here. Here's our secondary screen. Let's pull this up. What is this? US Google. There it is, right there. There it is, right there. All right, let's image it. Oh, let me move this over. That's what the problem is. There we go. So let's go ahead and play with this real quick, and then we'll get it fixed up. I think we'll be able to do this. Look at this. I don't know. I think it could be the same ink. I think it could be the same ink. Maybe these are skulls, different types of skulls. It looks like he likes skulls, you know? He looks like he likes skulls. This looks like a skull. This looks like the eyes, the little, you know, nose. This looks like the teeth here. You know, this kind of looks, over here kind of looks, what are you guys thinking? What are you guys thinking? Yay, nay? Prison tattoos? Well, regardless where the tattoos came from, do they appear? I mean, I guess, I know you guys aren't experts unless we do have a tattoo expert in the chat. Do we have a tattoo expert in the chat? Let's turn this around. Can we turn this around? There we go. I don't know, folks. Yeah. The patchy bits, yeah. That's what we're kind of looking at here. Exactly, yes. So we're getting some, yes, it does look, Luke has scars over his upper lip. No, so Riley is saying no, very similar. I think at minimum, what we're seeing here is similar. You know, I'm not accusing Luke Daly. He's kind of come under fire with me here lately because he has a hurt right hand, and I've been very honest about why I'm looking at him now. I wasn't looking at him before. Many of you guys have been following me, wanted me to look at him, and I wouldn't, because I'm not going to destroy an innocent person's life over something. There was something that got law enforcement a warrant, a federal warrant, into this man's life, his home, his body, his car. They were able to impound his car. They had something. Now we're seeing these tattoos. They very much look fairly, I think similar is the appropriate word. I don't think we can definitively say that this is Luke's arm, but we are seeing for the first time seeing the design of maybe the tattooing up under there, and we have just a small little speck of the types of tattooing that Luke Daly does have on his persons. Is that a leather glove? Yes, no, it's a latex glove. It's a nitrile glove. They believe this is a nitrile glove here. Nitrile glove, but there was only one little spot where the camera was able to catch a little glimpse of the skin. And over here, this just, and this is the only, this is all we have to really acknowledge, with Luke Daly, the type of tattooing. So I think at minimum, we can say at least it's similar. It's similar in nature. I think we can honestly say that without, embellishing or being completely inaccurate. With this, they went off geolocation to place him in the area. I think they did. I mean, they didn't get a county warrant. This was not a warrant from Pima County. This was a federal warrant. This was an FBI warrant. So they had to bring some game to the table to get a federal warrant. I mean, they had to go before a federal judge and express their probable cause to a federal judge. And federal judges are very, very, they're more knowledgeable than a magistrate. Okay? They're more knowledgeable with the law than a magistrate. You think all judges are the same, they are not. Okay? Their education, the cases that they've covered, their ability to understand and read and comprehend law and interpret law, it's much different from a magistrate's requirements to a federal judge's requirements. So, this is interesting stuff to me. This is shocking. Okay? This is shocking information related to the Nancy Guthrie case. And again, I want to be very, very clear. I am not accusing Luke Daly of any wrongdoing. I'm pointing out the stuff that doesn't make me feel comfortable with him. That's all I'm doing here. There may be, again, they've already been able to go through his life, go through his house. I just want to remind you of all that law enforcement said they got what they wanted, and now they're leaving it alone, or whatever they said, and they are looking at people at a restaurant right now. So I just want to be very, very clear. There is no indication from law enforcement that Luke is even on the radar at this point. So I think it would be wrong of me not to point that out to everybody. When I think somebody did something, I tell you guys. I do not hold back. If you guys want to know how I feel about the Sebastian Rogers case, I think his mommy hurt him. I think she murdered her son, and I think that the stepfather helped cover it up. And that is my opinion on that case. And so I have no problem when I think somebody has done something and I think I've got enough information to support that theory. I will tell my opinion, and I will be very strong on my opinion and convicted on my opinion. In this case here, I don't know what I'm looking at. I have not. Could it be Luke? Yes, it could. Of course, it could be Luke. Luke could have done this. Okay, let's not mince what I'm saying here. Yes, he could have done this. I'm not accusing him of doing it. There's a big difference, and I'm not accusing him of doing any wrongdoing. I'm saying that I understand why law enforcement was able to get that federal warrant. We're looking at the information as it becomes available, and the more information that becomes available, the more that I'm looking at Luke because of things like this. Okay, the things like him changing his appearance. There were 3 people accused of potentially hurting Nancy. First was Tommaso, second was Carlos, then they released the masked gunman. Next thing we know, we've got this guy being searched, and out of all those people and out of all the scrutiny that has come from mainstream media and social media, not one of them changed their appearance. Okay, not one of them changed their appearance. The only person that changed their appearance and tried to cover up tattoos and other things, other identifying markers on them, was Luke. That's it. Okay? And we did catch his mother not being truthful at least a couple times and contradicting herself at least a couple times during her interview. Could that be attributed to nerves? Of course. She's an older lady. This has probably got to unnerve her. And I think she's trying to tell somebody else's potential story, which does cause confusion for an elderly lady. So I don't know how I feel about Luke. I can tell you that I'm kind of warming more up to Luke now than I ever have. as far as, why they've been looking at him and stuff like that. And I really hope that if they have truly moved on from him, that they come out and clear him, because the more and more we look at this case, the more and more it looks like it's starting to fit or bode with Luke Daly. And that's a concern, especially if law enforcement knows he's not the guy, And so hopefully, if he's not the guy, hopefully law enforcement comes out. This whole thing with the cooks at the restaurant, this might be another one of those things where they can't stop their investigation or just solely look at Luke. They got what they needed. They need to move on. They need to look at other avenues, because that's also another thing prosecutors can do, right? They can sit here and not prosecutors, defense attorneys, they can say, well, when they came across my client, they didn't look anywhere else. They honed in on my clients and they built the case around him without looking at any other possible suspects. Well, at least the defense attorney can't say that in this case, right? If it becomes Luke or somebody like Luke, that's one thing that they will not be able to say about that they only looked at this person and stopped looking at this person, because we can tell you they've looked at a lot of people. They've already cleared 6 of those people that they looked at. We're waiting for, hopefully, Carlos and Luke, if they are cleared and do have no connection to this case whatsoever, hopefully they will be cleared. But let's be honest, this does not look good. We're looking at tattoos under that sleeve. We're looking at tattoos over on the other side of the screen that came directly from Luke's arm, nobody else's. And I gotta say, the style of tattoo is similar. But again, I don't want you guys going and beating up Luke, because there may be other people in that community that have this style of tattooing, right? We don't know if this is, I saw some of you guys saying these are jailhouse tattoos. Well, some of them can be jailhouse tattoos. Just because you have something that appears like jailhouse tattoos doesn't mean they're jailhouse tattoos, because those jailhouse tattoo artists go where? They actually, when they get out, they go to tattoo shops. So you can get a jail tattoo at a tattoo shop. Just to let you know, okay? I've seen it myself. I've seen it with my own eyes. Did I tell you I used to roll with bikers? Okay, if I didn't, I used to roll with bikers. Okay? I used to roll with everybody. I was a hot mess express. I will not lie. I was a hot mess express. Anybody that wanted to party, I was up for it. Hey! I'm Betty! I know I can't stay. I don't have to go home, but I can't stay here. You want to come with me? My 20-year-old self. My 20-year-old self. Yeah, it's the shading. Yeah, I mean, people that have tattoos understand tattoos. I've seen tattoos. I've got 2 tattoos. I'm not a tattoo buff. I like tattoos. I think tattoos, I think they can be overkill, but I think, sometimes tattoos can be sexy, but just not on my body, okay? I've got one tattoo. I got one tattoo I've had since I was 15, and a new tattoo for Sebastian's Army, because that was one of the cases that I will never forget, nor do I want to forget. So it is officially, I'm a part of Sebastian's Army. I'm proud to be part of Sebastian's Army. I'm so proud to be part of Sebastian's Army. I got tatted up right there. On the other side of my heart. On the other side of my heart. Yeah, my uncle's whole body is tatted. So people know. And I mean, my best friend had those freaking flames up his neck and up his legs. He was a little pyromaniac and went to prison for being a pyromaniac. And then he got out and grew up and became dad. And now he's a religious guy with a whole bunch of tattoos. God rest his soul. Right? But I remember when I went over to his house for dinner for the first time, him and his girlfriend and his kids, it wasn't where we got our food and ate. We had to bow our heads and pray. You got a scary looking freak with flames going up their neck, and you go over to dinner, and it's like, you bow your head. I don't know where you're from, but we pray around here. We pray around here. God bless them. God bless them. So guys, this is it. This is the shocking news. What do you say? What say you? What say you? If you guys are on the replay crew, don't forget to hit that like button. We try to keep everything, with what you guys need to know. We try to show you guys factual information. We speculate and theorize. We're going to always, this is the true crime genre. We're going to speculate and theorize on what we're seeing and what we're doing here. But we try to keep it factual. And at the end of the day, we know that somebody appears to have tattoos on their wrist that's going in. This is a key and critical element. So why is only one of 3 suspects detained? Why is only one of them changing their appearance and covering up their arms? Just saying.
Sliver that we saw, there it is. Thank you, control room. Is it part of a full sleeve? Typically, when a person has a full sleeve, they have another full sleeve. They can't stop themselves. Possibly even a neck or chest tattoo.
Ooh, possibly.
I'm going to go straight out to a very special guest joining us. Is Jeff Garnett, co-founder of Inkless Tattoo Removal Centers at inklesstattooremoval.com. Jeff Garnett, thank you for being with us. Jeff, how difficult is it to remove a tattoo, and how difficult is it to remove a full sleeve?
The technology has improved quite a bit over the last 5
So we already watched this for those that are coming in. It basically says that it could take up to a year to get these tattoos off.
done without ever breaking the skin, which is the key to flawless results and no scarring.
Jeff Garnett joining us, co-founder of Inkless Tattoo Removal Centers. Jeff Garnett, nothing would make me happier than to find the perp and have him halfway through the tattoo removal, which would indicate guilt. Mm-hmm. He's having the tattoo removed because he knows he can be identified by that tattoo. Is it your experience, after all these years in tattoo removal, that when a person has a full sleeve, they have other tattoos as well?
Yeah.
Typically, it's people tend to start with smaller tattoos and then build their way up and get more and more. So it's rare to have someone who doesn't have any tattoos and their very first tattoo is a full sleeve.
Have you looked, Jeff Garnett, at the sliver of tattoo on the porch guy's wrist?
I have, and it does look like it's a small piece of a much larger piece. It does look like black ink. You see a little bit of line work and a little bit of shading. And I think that if they were to find a suspect, this could be used and compared to potentially identify them.
I don't do that.
Does that look like a professional tattoo or a jailhouse tattoo to you?
It's hard to say. I mean, there's such a wide...
Because there's such a wide... I have a friend that owns a tattoo shop. I've met plenty of tattoo artists. I've known a lot of people that do tattoos. I can tell you, that's why I know everybody when they say jailhouse tattoo, I got to tell you, one of the most intricate tattoos I've ever seen. It was on, I don't even know if he's alive anymore because he was so out there, and God forgive me, but his name was Brian. He was in jail for like 8 years or something like that, and it took the full 8 years, but he had such an intricate back tattoo. And this back tattoo was of a serpent, okay? And every single scale was hand done. This was the most, I had never seen a tattoo that had so much detail in it. And they did it this was done in the jail. He paid like $250 for it in jail. It took years to do. And it was one of the best pieces that I had ever seen in my life. So don't discredit jailhouse tattoos because you see a lot. But people do ink in jail, and you got to remember those people come out of jail, and guess where they go? Ink shops. So, you can get a jailhouse tattoo at an ink shop. It's just the artistic work of that person, because whether you're in the jail or you're not, it's all about the artist. It's not. It's all about the artist. But I just want to put that into perspective. Yeah, my cousin has a beautiful jailhouse. I have never. It covered his whole back. It was of this lady, the one like this, and then it had the serpent around it. It was a full back tattoo. And it was all black and white, but it was the most detailed. I mean, you look at it, you could see the scales. The scales had definition. You saw every single. It looked so. It was immaculate. It was amazing. It was the most amazing tattoo I had ever seen in my life. And I've been at a lot of tattoo shops, been around a lot of tattoo artists. This is by far one of the best tattoos I had ever seen in my life. And still to this day, I've never seen a tattoo of that quality. But that was because he did a 10-year stint in prison. And he had he worked on that. He saved money for 2 years, and then they worked on it for 8 years. So that's kind of how all that went down. But the most intricate tattoo I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how they did it. They did it with ash. Like anything that was dark, that's what they used for the tattoo. God knows what they stuck in that man's back for that color, because it's the jail. It's the jail. They use whatever they can get their hands on, whether it's toxic or not. So God knows. But yeah, to tell the truth, my cousin had my grandmother and grandfather's pics. They were perfect. Yeah. So it is. So I just wanted to put that in perspective. Could this be jailhouse or done in a shop? It really depends on the artist. It really does. It's just like that.
Even in
And it doesn't just depend on the artist. It also depends on what the person, because I mean, there are a lot of people out there that don't know how to tattoo, but know how to draw. And sometimes they draw their own design and take them to the tattoo artist and have them put on their body. So we don't know what we're looking at here.
Professional tattoo shops, there's such a wide range of talents and application styles that it would be difficult to say.
I agree.
Do you believe a tattoo of this magnitude, let's just say it's full sleeve, can be removed completely, or will there always be a trace on the perp?
It looks like black ink. Black ink can be removed completely.
Nice.
And I used to have a black ink tattoo right here on the side of my neck. It's
Wow.
100% gone. There's no shadow or scar tissue or skin discoloration. There's no trace.
Let's go back
black ink
20
tattoo
seconds.
right here on the side
Wow.
of my neck. It's 100% gone. There's no shadow.
Well, for those people that have, tattoos and you guys are wondering, does it really work? Or are you going to piss your money away? Well, it looks like the technology today works. That's amazing. To get your skin that clear and not to have, I mean, unless you got scarring from, which I've seen horrible tattoos, where people went entirely too deep into your skin, you're never going to get rid of that scarring. You'll never get rid of it. And some of that ink might actually have penetrated that scar tissue, and you may never get that out of the scar tissue either. But for the most part, I mean, that neck, seeing his neck just crystal clear, that is amazing. I don't think the perp will try to remove, but change it, cover it up. I mean, that's a big thing. That is a big thing. People covering up tattoos. Like, he can put a lot of color on that and change that out really, really good, but it's still going to cost a lot of money. Keloids,
or scar tissue or skin discoloration. There's no trace.
Yeah.
Jeff Garnett, why do people typically want their tattoos removed?
We tend to see 3 different timelines. You have
I can tell you why. Because you were a dumbass when you were younger. That's the number one reason. What you bet? What do you bet? That is the number one reason. Because you were a dumbass when you were younger. Guys, stay away from the neck tattoos, okay? I don't like neck tattoos, but that's I don't like neck and face tattoos. I think that's so cringe for me. It really is. Like, I mean, you want to have tattoos, you want to express yourself, that's fine. But, and I know that our country is a little more liberal about it. Like, I'm starting to see people in offices with me. There's going to be a time and a place when that's no longer acceptable. It's acceptable right now, but that's because all this shit's been force fed down our throat that we have to accept it. We're correcting that boat. At some point, your tattoos, your piercings, this will all catch up to you one day. If I can give you guys anything, I'm not telling you not to express yourself. I'm just saying express yourself where you can cover it up and be professional. Okay, you never know where you're going to be in 20 years. If I looked back, I mean, like I said, when I was 20 and how I acted when I was 20 and how I acted when I was 40 are two totally different persons. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I had a crazy 20 something and I have a very overly concerned 40 something. Okay, so you go through all of these changes. I went from thug to punk to, excuse me, just bish. I don't know. I went through a lot of changes in my life, and I know that you all have gone through a lot of changes in your life as well. So for those that are here that are younger, understand you are going to go through changes. Decisions you make today are going to follow you the rest of your life. People told me about it, and trust me, I didn't listen to them either. Guess what? I found out the hard way. So this is only for the wise people in the chat, not the smart people, because we know those smart people like Bullhorn Betty have to make those mistakes all by themselves, So we're gonna let you make all those mistakes all by yourself. But for the people that don't that like to learn from somebody else's mistakes, don't tattoo your neck and face, okay? Don't do it. I don't even like the arms. Like I don't like even the one on my leg. I got it too high. Back then I wore higher socks. Even then, making decisions like that were based on how I dressed back then. I don't even wear high socks anymore. I think they look dorky. I wear the ones that go right around so you see it all, right? And I try to do that to cover that up. Oh, to be behind a sock until I quit wearing those socks that high. And then all of a sudden, I know when I get about 60, I'll be wearing socks that high again. But that's okay until we get there. But that's good. I didn't
people
know
who
that,
get a tattoo, the smallest percentage of people who get a tattoo and they kind of panic, and maybe it didn't come out the way they wanted, or maybe it was bigger than they originally anticipated, and they want to get rid of it right away. Then there's kind of the medium term where there's been a sudden change, like someone got their boyfriend or girlfriend's name and then they break up, or it's getting in the way of a career. But by far the largest percentage are people
getting away. You're tanking your future career. Just remember that. People do judge you, and while it may be, look at all the things that were acceptable back long before we were beating women. Totally acceptable back in the day. Totally unacceptable today. Okay? So just because you've got a job, a great job, and you're all tatted up, and maybe that might work for our society now, but what in 20 years? What if they say, no, we need professional people. We have rights not to hire you because you have all this and you do not align with our image for our business. Now you're losing a job because of something you did 20 years ago. I'm just saying, guys, there are truly consequences. You're not thinking about those now, but they do have them. And maybe you'll never experience that. But there might be somebody that does, and that might be the job that they've been working for toward their entire life, that they just got knocked off their pedestal because of something they did 20 years ago.
People who just outgrow them. If you get something in your 20s or teens, and then you're in your 30s and 40s, and it's different. I was actually speaking to an entrepreneur group recently, and some of them had tattoos and some of them didn't. And I said, imagine, for those who don't, imagine if you could only wear the clothes you had in high school.
Look at that.
You thought they were cool then, but you're a different person now, and you really wouldn't want to wear them, and you'd be really upset if that was all you had to wear.
Can you imagine if we were stuck in our high school clothes? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we were forced to wear what we wore in high school every day? Can you imagine those little slut puppies that turn Christian, good old Christian women? Can you imagine? Could you imagine? All you ladies, if you were forced to wear what you had. And what about you guys, right? You guys want to be, I want to be a thug. Now you're that attorney having to wear your crisscross pants into court. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we were forced? Oh, I would die. I would truly die. Sometimes they assume things or they have no idea. This car had tracking built in by the manufacturer. Police and FBI know everywhere that car went. I agree.
I agree. And it might have been the car, the vehicles that helped clear some of the people. I'm interested. I'm still interested in the Range Rover. The best tattoo I see on a woman is thigh was a chipmunk running with a acorn. Chipmunk running with an acorn. Oh, good gracious. Oh, good gracious. Well, I don't have anything like that. I have like this little heart that has the initials and I didn't even realize because it was his friend that put it on me and he was in juvenile detention center when I got it. It's one of those, I was like 14 or 15 and had the bad boy. The bad boy. Well, his friend put it on me. And then after the fact, I didn't know. I only had him do like one of the little tribal things around this heart. And when you look at it now, I can't not see it. It says JC. My ex-boyfriend's name was Jody C. I'm not going to say his name, but his name was Jody C. And so I have that, even though I didn't ask for that to be put there. And it does just looks like tribal for everybody else. Every time I look at it, I see those damn initials. And then, of course, I've got the one on my shoulder for Sebastian's Army. And I like this one. This one's anyways, you guys can go back and watch the video. I videotaped it when we got it put on, so go back and watch it. It's pretty cool. So it's got the little puzzle pieces and the little green and Sebastian's Army underneath it. I like it. So just to kind of recap here, are we going to be looking at somebody potentially trying to remove a sleeve of tattoo? I don't think so. But now that we're kind of looking and seeing that there are some tattoos and comparing them to some of the suspects that we have, there really is one of the three suspects that kind of fit this bill. While we don't have enough information to say, oh gosh, he did it. A court of public opinion can't even rule on this at this point with the limited information we have. But we are building the case. We are seeing some uncomfortable similarities with Luke Daly that we don't want to acknowledge, but we are seeing them. So we're going to keep him in our back pocket for a little while because there are so many little things that I just don't like that keep adding up to something, and I don't know what that something is. Is he culpable of something else? Maybe he didn't do this, but maybe he's hiding his appearance because he did something else. Something like I feel like if this is innocent and he is not, a true person of interest in Nancy Guthrie, maybe all of these things are attributed to something else he shouldn't be doing, and that's kind of where I'm at with the whole Luke Daly thing. I don't, again, want to accuse anybody of doing anything that they have not done. You can really ruin somebody's reputation. He's already ruined his reputation for himself by being in so much trouble for all these years. But if he's really trying to do better and really trying to clean his life up, everybody should be given an opportunity to do that. And so I would never want to put my foot on the back of anybody's neck that is doing that. But I have to acknowledge that there's a lot of things with Luke Daly that are starting to make me feel uncomfortable. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at all my other shows. We have a playlist, a Nancy Guthrie playlist. You guys can fact check me. You'll see I have not looked at Luke Daly. I never looked at Luke Daly until he did that interview. As soon as he did that interview, to me, he invited America to scrutinize him, right? When he was just being, when they just had to execute a warrant on him, he did not invite America into his personal space. But the minute he did that interview, he invited scrutiny. He invited scrutiny, and that is exactly what we're doing. That was on him. He could have laid low. He could have kept his mouth shut. I would have never covered him. Many other people he would have been out of sight, out of mind for, but him and his mother had to force us to listen to their side of the story. They asked for scrutiny. They asked for scrutiny. There's no other thing that you can say. They were out of sight, out of mind, and then boom, even their attorney even said, well, the case was dying down. We wanted to give them something to talk about, right? That's pretty much what he said. Well, okay. We're giving them something to talk about. We're giving them something to talk about. I'm not comfortable with Luke Daly. I was comfortable with him not being associated with this. But again, now that we see him all this time later, it's hard to look past all of these. Now we're looking at tattoos that almost look similar too. Guys,
I'm not saying it's Luke. I'm just saying we can't take our eyes off of him at this point until something comes up that replaces our theories that he could, and I want to stress that could, even law enforcement believes he could have been a part of this because they did execute a federal search warrant. So, and anything short of Nanos coming out and saying that this guy's clear, I think we need to keep him on the list. That's what I'm saying. We still need to be looking at the people at that restaurant. We still need to be looking at other people, because if Luke's in this neighborhood and he's got the history he has, there's got to be other people in the neighborhood similar to him that live with mommy that have a similar history that Luke does, that could be ripe for this as well, that does have tattoos up and down his arm, much like Luke does, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that this is Luke, but somebody like Luke. I really am starting to see how all of this is formulated, and every time we bring these things up, we kind of understand a little bit more why law enforcement had probable cause to execute search warrants on him. All right, guys, hopefully you got some good information from today's show. Hopefully I explained some things down. If you guys have questions or want me to look at a different perspective, please bring them up. We do have some other stuff related to another crime ring. And it looks like I gotta find that again. Apparently I deleted it. I put it up yesterday. I'll be able to find it, but we'll be going over that later today. Probably around 11 on this show. We're going to be pushing out a lot of content today because we got so much stuff to work on with Nancy. Plus, we still have some updates on Lily and Jack Sullivan. We have some updates, some avocation for Sebastian. We need to get updated on the two girls in the suitcases. So I might do a breaking news update on our other channel, the Crime Stories channel, just to kind of knock all of these other cases. They're not a lot of updates, but it is something that will take an hour and a half to get you guys updated on everything. So I think I might just do something like that, and then I might take that and chunk it out and throw some videos up on just different segments of that show here on this channel, so the people here can get all that. But if you haven't subbed up to our Crime Stories channel, we don't use that channel very often. But when we start getting to the point where we have a lot of information, we have to bounce from channel to channel. This is the first time I'm doing this with OBS. It's very, very difficult, so I don't like doing it. It was much easier to do when we were on StreamYard, but hopefully I'll find an easier solution for that in the future. But for right now, we don't have that. So we'll have to, work with what we've got and make it do. So we'll see you guys back later today. We've got a lot of talking points on Nancy Guthrie's case to try to keep this case alive. Hopefully find the suspects that are affiliated with this abduction, with this home invasion. Ripping this grandmother, this 84-year-old frail grandmother that has a pacemaker, out of her bed and out of her home, blood dripping out the front door. It is just, it's awful. It is awful. It's scary. It's very concerning for human beings to, hear this about other human beings and to know a human being did this. I think at the end of the day, we believe in humanity. We come from a lot of different walks, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different finances, just a lot of differences we have between us. But one thing that most of us care about is one another. We may not like each other, but we love each other, right? We don't want anything happening. We want to have those heated debates, and we can't have those heated debates if something happens to you. So we want everybody to be safe. We want everybody to be healthy. We want everybody to be able to, have their voice heard. And when your voice is snuffed out, it's hard to hear your voice. So we just want, honestly, we really just want world peace, right? And that's the truth about it, that we're not beauty queens over here by any stretch of the imagination. But we truly just want to live in a world that's just not so damn violent, that has respect for one another, that if you don't like what somebody's doing or saying, you remove yourself from that situation because you're the one that doesn't like it. Telling somebody not to do something is ridiculous. If you don't want somebody telling you what you can and can't do, don't be telling other people what they can and can't do. If you don't like it, leave. We need to get back to a society where you realize you're in control of how frustrated you are or how happy you are. If you want to stay frustrated, stay frustrated. If you want to be happy, you remove yourself from frustrating areas of your life. So you have all the control in the world. It's what you do with it. So guys, have a great day. God bless you. We will be back soon. We've got to try to find time to implement. I think it's going to be in the afternoon, like after 2, where we go over to the Crime Story show, which will be after our second show at around 11:30. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. God bless y'all.